Armed.
It is the first Monday of the rest of our lives. There's Blaine Fowler. I'm Dave McCann. Welcome to the Wise Guys, our global live stream show. It's Champions Night. It's presented by BradyPlus, the #1 global live stream BYU sports show in the world. Turns into our popular podcast, which we'll crank out tomorrow. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
We're this much closer to football. Now that the fourth is over, now it's the countdown is officially.
It feels like we're right there. I was talking football all this morning with, guess who? With Elisa Tuiaki.
Nice.
I was talking Oregon State football.
Sweet.
With him and BYU football because he's now up coaching the defensive line at Oregon State and got a little insight on what they're doing. They have an interesting schedule, Dave. They play 5 P5s and 7 Mountain West teams.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with them over
know.
time? But anyhow, it just made it feel like football was close. And he was down for the 4th holiday. He has to head back tomorrow because they're working out. But it made it feel like it's really close. And it does feel like it's really close.
Yeah. Yes, it does. On the live stream tonight, Mount, what is that? Mount Dora, Florida. Roger's
Mount
in
Dora,
from Florida.
yeah.
We haven't a lot of Floridians. We got Florida in, Farmington, Utah.
Glenn Loomis
Harriman,
already in.
Utah.
He's in from the Philippines. It's tomorrow morning in the Philippines. He's in.
Tucson's in, and it's just getting started. We want our live stream to hop from all corners of the earth.
Yeah, and hey, make sure, folks that join us on this live stream, that you go to wiseguys.com and you subscribe to our weekly email. You can also, when you get to that website, as those of you that go know, watch all of our past content, every interview we've ever done over the last 2.5 years. We'd love it if you hit that subscribe button. It's that easy.
Doesn't even cost you, but it helps us.
Hit the subscribe button on your YouTube channel too.
Yeah.
Because that just helps us stay alive longer, and it's great, and it's free. All of that stuff is free.
If it's free, it's for me.
And I'll take 3.
I'll take 3.
And the famous Vi Sikahemis statement. If it's free, it's for me, I'll take 3. So do all of that. Subscribe at wiseguys.com. Make sure you get the weekly email with all the highlights. Makes it really easy. And just browse through and see what interviews you missed. People have been coming up to me lately going, hey, I just saw your interview with such and such. I'm like, wow, that was like a year and a half ago. And they go, yeah, I know. I was kind of going down through. What a crazy good interview. And I'm thinking, yeah, there's
some good stuff.
So much good stuff out there. Make sure you do that. And we'd appreciate it if you subscribe at YouTube as well.
Robert from Ridgecrest, California on the live stream. It's Champions Night. Welcome to Champions Night. We figured it was the best way to launch into the second half of the year.
Yes.
Because you've got the 4th of July, which was awesome, Stadium of Fire and all of that stuff. And now it's the next week. And with Media Day starting tomorrow in Las Vegas and practice starting later this month and NFL reporting a camp later this month, and then it's on next month.
Yeah. So we decided we had to have a championship week on the Wise Guys. And we're gonna do football, basketball, and baseball.
Sure.
Let's cover the 3 great American sports, right?
Yeah.
Hey, and that's no slight to track or anything else. No. But let's face it, football, basketball, and baseball is the great American way.
Those are the big 3.
We're going to have Kelly Smith, 1984 national champion from BYU's football squad, that caught the game-winning touchdown pass to secure that win and secure BYU's #1 national ranking.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Dave Rice is going to be sitting right over here. Dave Rice, you go, Dave Rice, let's see, was he the co-architect of Jimmermania? Yes, he was. He's now the head basketball coach at Salt Lake Community College. Jimmer's going to Paris for the Olympics. We thought this was a perfect time to reintroduce Dave Rice to the state of Utah and to the Wise Guys. Now he's coaching at Slick, but he's a BYU guy.
Yeah,
and he'll always be a BYU guy.
And he'll always be a national champion.
Yes, with the Run Rebs.
Because he won a national championship as a player, and I might say the smartest player on that team without a doubt, and maybe he's got to be in the top 3 smartest players in the history of UNLV.
Maybe he's in the top 1.
You know what?
He may be the smartest.
Can we just admit he's the smartest player that's ever played at UNLV?
Let's introduce him tonight as the smartest.
We'll just say the smartest player that ever played at UNLV, and that's Dave Rice.
Dave Rice.
So, and he played with did he play with some great players?
Yeah, and they were all just back together this last week in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of questions for
we
Dave.
got 2 national champions.
Yeah.
Then we have a world champion coming on tonight.
Right.
A 2-time world champion. And so we go to the sport of baseball. Dane Iorg, 2-time World Series champion, and happened to hit a phenomenal game-winning home run in Game 6 of one World Series, which is, who gets to do that ever in their life?
It's a great story.
We're in rarefied air, right?
He sent his son played at BYU. His grandson played at BYU. He went straight into the big leagues.
Yeah.
Out of high school, but it's going to be fun having him with us tonight. Baseball, football, basketball, Champions Night on the Wise Guys, and we're thrilled to have BradyPlus as our title sponsor. BradyPlus is the largest integrated provider of cleaning, food service, and packaging supplies in the United States, with over 6,000 employees. Travis Brady, pictured right there if you're looking at the live stream, just envision Travis Brady if you're listening on the podcast. He's a BYU alum, company president. He's going to join the show for a few minutes next week on the Wise Guys. We appreciate BradyPlus.
Yeah, they're great, and they've been great helping us advance the show and helping it grow. We appreciate Travis Brady very, very much.
Dr. Ketch says it's hot in Vegas and hot on Wise Guys.
Yeah, my Dr. Ketch, 100 and whatever.
It's supposed to be 118.
What's happened is St. George turned into Las Vegas. Las Vegas turned into Phoenix, and Phoenix turned into Death Valley.
Yeah,
is what's happening right now.
And I think Death Valley has turned into. I think hell would be the next.
You can say hell on this show.
That would
Death
be the next
Valley
place.
turned into hell. That's what it did.
So all this week, because last week was so nice and so pleasant, but here we are. It's summer. I always thought, having lived in Las Vegas for 20 years, this is how I marked the passage of time was if it didn't get to 116, we weren't getting to football season. But once those high teens showed up and the heat peaked, then we knew that the backside of that was we were closer to football.
Robert Roberts says it's 114 in Ridgecrest and Cali.
Man, hang on.
Yeah, well, and you want to know what? I was talking to one of my buddies who's in San Francisco. They were 100 in the Bay. That never happens.
Don't you just jump into the Bay when it's 100 in the Bay?
You need to do something
because
there's people over there that don't even have air conditioning because it doesn't get that hot.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
It is hot. So we're glad to have you with us wherever you are, even if it's Tuesday in the Philippines and Singapore and some of our spots. But let us know on the stream tonight where you're watching from, and we'll try to give you a
shout out. And
Ruth,
don't worry about being late. You're here.
Yeah.
It's all
What
good.
matters
So
is you're here.
Ruth comes on and says, sorry to be late. No worries. You're here.
Let's talk football on the Wise Guys. Big 12 Media Days start tomorrow, and they continue Wednesday down at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, which is why we've been talking about the Vegas Heat. Coverage on BYU TV Sports Nation at noon Eastern on both days. BYU's time in front of the cameras is Wednesday. Mm-hmm. So some of the 8 teams, 8 of the 16 will be there tomorrow.
Right.
And then the other 8 are there on Wednesday. Can you believe there's 16
Yeah, four new teams joining
that just
the
seems
conference.
like a lot.
2 going out and 4 coming in.
Yeah.
With Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah joining the Big 12. So, yeah, a lot of new faces and a lot to catch up on for the media.
And then you think, well, how do you come up with an all-conference team with 16 teams?
Yeah.
Tyler Batty named preseason first team, all Big 12. The BYU defensive end is primed for a big season.
Oh, he's good. And he is in such good shape, and his mindset is so good right now. Can't wait to see him play. There's some others that have a shot. You know, the season will play out, and we'll see. I mean, Connor Pay is a guy that has enough notoriety. If he plays well, he could be all Big 12. Hey, could Reiner Swanson be one of the candidates for Newcomer of the Year?
Could be.
I think he could at tight end. Jacob Robinson, certainly, if he has the kind of season he had last year and maybe ups it a little bit.
Darius Lassiter. Watch for Darius
absolutely.
Lassiter.
And then, you know who else could? If he goes out and produces like he has in the past, Jack Kelly could be all Big 12. At backer, he could have 100 tackles this year.
Keelan Marion was on the show last week. He's ready to run kickoffs and receiver, special teams.
He could be a special teams guy. So there are plenty of folks that could step up. And you know what? A lot of it hinges on how BYU plays. If BYU goes out and wins 8 or 9 or 10 games, you're going to see more guys on that all-conference team. If they struggle, they're going to be fewer. But it's nice that Tyler Batty was recognized for all that he's done and for the shape that he's in and is on that preseason team.
Hey, Ruth is commenting, nice spinning helmet. Right there, that's a new addition to our set.
Look at that.
Thanks, Steve, for bringing that in and donating to us. And there it is, right there.
I don't even dare touch it.
Levitating helmet.
I want to kind of stay away
from it. If it starts
that.
talking to us, then we'll be freaked out. But right now, that's just what
And by the way,
doing.
there's no strings, but I'm not going to put my hand in between the levitating magic of the
only
whatever
bad things
that
happen.
is.
Only bad things happen.
I just know that thing's floating on its own in there.
We like to surprise you on the set. Every now and then, we'll just pop something in here.
Yeah, and if you want to get one of these, we don't know how to do it. So, but we'll get those. Whoever makes these, we're going to get them to sponsor the show.
I think they're at the bookstore.
I think you get it was pretty cool.
So we've been talking about the Heat in Vegas. Let's talk about the Heat on the teams in the Big 12. The media poll came out. Part of it, I think, is a little silly, but let's talk about it. We'll talk about who's got the most heat, who's got the least heat. And this says that we get ready to visit with Kelly Smith coming up here in just a couple minutes on the Wise Guys. So the media poll comes out. Utah's pick number 1 with 20 votes. Kansas State's number 2 at 19. So the Utes got one more first place vote from the media. I didn't vote this year. Did you vote this year?
I didn't vote this year.
So from the other medias, Oklahoma State's 3rd. Then Kansas, Arizona, Iowa State, West Virginia's 7, UCF's at 8, and then there's 8 more teams. 9 is Texas Tech, 10 is TCU, 11 is Colorado, 12 is Baylor, 13 is BYU, 14 is Cincinnati, 15 is Houston, and 16 is Arizona State. Where did they get it wrong? Let's just start there. Not where they got it right. Where did they get it wrong?
I'm telling you, the first 6 or 7, to me, that's a crapshoot in this league.
Yeah.
Like, I looked at it, I'm like, hey, you could make a case for West Virginia with Green back and with White back at running back and their offensive line almost intact. And like, they were a good football team this last year. I think they're probably the most underrated. I think they could be the surprise team of the league. They were a surprise team last year. They won 9 games last year. And everybody thought they'd finish last in the league.
Yeah. And
they won 9 games last year. And that was one of the most physical football teams I've seen in a long time in any league. And they got a bunch of dudes back, and they've got a culture now. So so West Virginia's down at number 7.
Yeah.
Are they better than that? Utah coming in. Couple things about Utah. If Cam Rising is 100% healthy and can run around and make plays like he did,
then more power to him.
And Keithy is as healthy as he was, and he can make all the plays that he did, and Micah Bernard is full go and looking amazing at running back. Utah's always going to be physical, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You just expect them with Morgan Scalley running it to be good defensively. So, but that's a lot of ifs on offense. Yeah. That's like major knee reconstruction for Cam. And so that surprised me that they were number 1. If I was voting just because of the uncertainty, if I knew all those guys were 100%, I would have voted them 1. But I don't know that they're all 100%, so I would have had them 2 or 3. And I think I would have had Kansas State 1 or Oklahoma State 1. And Arizona I'd have higher if they didn't have a whole new coaching staff.
Yeah.
Because with Fafita back and McMillan back at running back, I'd have them higher. But Oklahoma State, first of all, Kansas State's been the most consistent team the last several years.
Yeah.
And they've got Avery Johnson coming back to play quarterback. Giddens is back at running back, who's an elite level running back. They're really physical. They've been consistent. They're like Utah, very good on defense. I think rightly they're in the right place, one or 2. Oklahoma State has 85% of their production back from last year. Yeah. You got Alan Bowman back at quarterback. You got Ollie Gordon, the Doak Walker Award winner back at running back. You have 21 starters back. How does Oklahoma State not 1, 2, or like that? That's why I'm saying. And then Kansas, Jalen Daniels might be the best quarterback in the league, and he's coming back, right? Finally healthy. He wasn't healthy last year. Devin Neal, you could make an argument that he's as good as Ollie Gordon at running back. Yeah. Elite physically up front on both sides of the ball is Kansas. I was really impressed with that team last year. You could make a case for them being 1 or 2, right? So to me, this is an impossible task right now. Too many unknowns. Who's going to be healthy when they come in? And then Iowa State is consistently good and physical, and I think they're going to take a step forward. And they come in at number 6. I think any of those first 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, could win this league. That's crazy that 7 teams, in my mind, could win this league. I don't know of any league I've thought that way about for a long, long time where I think any of 7 could win it.
I'd move Kansas State to number 1. Mm-hmm. West Virginia, I'd move to number 2 based on everything we just talked about. I thought they were fantastic last year. They got their quarterback back. They're loaded, and they're still unhappy. And their coach is still not getting credit for being a really good coach. I think West Virginia is going to be the surprise team. I'd put BYU up to 8 or 9. And you're like going, what, 8 or 9? But let's talk about it. They got them at 13. Baylor isn't better than BYU. Baylor's awful. Colorado is, no one knows where Colorado is. So I might start BYU close to 10, 11. I think they can finish up near number 8 because they got the top 5 teams in the media poll. Of those top 5, 4 of them are in Provo. So they're playing 4 of the 5, but they get them at home. They're also playing 3 of the bottom 5, Baylor, Houston, and Arizona State. I think you can come up with 8 wins, 7 wins, and that doesn't put them at 13.
Yeah, I was talking to some folks the other day, and you go back, and here's what most folks don't understand. Winning and losing games at this level in a P5 league, in any particular game, and it doesn't matter, even the blowouts are 6 or 7 plays in a game. It's 6 or 7 plays. BYU in that season a few years ago with Zach at quarterback when they won 11 games, they won 11 that year, I think. They had 5 or 6 games that 6 or 7 plays go the other way. They lose 4 more games.
Yeah.
Right? They lose 5 games.
Think of 84.
Yeah, and there are games like, hey, let's talk about the West Virginia game. You can go back and early in that game, you could probably pick out 6 plays and go, hey, if BYU executes properly on 5 of these, they might win this game. Because games get away from you in really good leagues, and the score, sometimes teams will the wheels come off and they just come off. But it's 6 or 7 or 8 plays in a game that's the difference between winning and losing in most games at this level, because the talent's not that different. And so can BYU take care of the football and make more of those plays this year? There's no reason you can't go from 5 wins to 9 wins. West Virginia did better than that last year. You know why? Because they made the 6 or 7 plays a game. And people that act like you can't go from 5 wins to 9 wins. No, you can. Yeah. You can do it very easily at this level.
Get 4 yards of carry, which is BYU's goal, and take care of the football.
Right. And here's the thing that's interesting. It's if BYU got physically manhandled in games last year by the elite teams, I would think differently. But in the games they lost, even the ones they lost big, you go back and you watch the film, and you're like, where are these guys going? Like, you just had too many lost people out there, especially on the offensive side with 7 new starters. It wasn't, these guys aren't physically good enough to block somebody. The guys making tackles in the backfield weren't blocked at all, right? And then defensively, it wasn't, they're getting blown off the ball. As soon as somebody runs for 7 yards of carry, they're getting blown off the ball. No, guys aren't in the right spots. Didn't have the right run fits. Yeah. They weren't putting an edge on the defense. So it's not physically they don't match up. I wish they had more depth. They do not have the depth that some of these teams have. But their first 22, they're plenty physical, plenty fast, and it's making 6 or 7 more plays a game, and all of a sudden you win 2 or 3 or 4 more games.
And addressing the depth was goal number 1 here in the offseason, and they did a lot of that. We're just going to find out if they did enough of it here once we get going. Hey, by the way, Weston is in from Nebraska. Good to have you join with us. Stephen from Brigham City, currently at LDS Hospital. This is what he wrote on the live stream. Following daughter's surgery, she was singing the Star Spangled Banner to the doctors and nurses while she was coming out of anesthesia. We hope all well went awesome with that. Stephen, thanks for bringing the wise guys into the hospital.
Yes.
Turn it up so everyone in the other rooms can hear and no wonder what the commotion is. But that's awesome. Some key dates. Now that we're in July, the players report 3 weeks from tomorrow. We report to after further review 3 weeks from tomorrow.
Same day.
For our season debut. And then our premiere of game day is not too far away.
Yeah.
August 31st.
August 31st, Southern Illinois, 6 p.m. Mountain Time on ESPN Plus. Game day starts at 4 Mountain Time. Yeah. On BYU TV and ESPN Plus. Everything that we do for BYU TV for that game day show is going to appear on ESPN Plus. It's pretty fun stuff. It's not that far away, Dave.
No.
It's exciting stuff.
No. One thing that was announced since we were last together, BYU is going to play a home-and-home series against former Mountain West foe Colorado State.
Interesting, right?
Fort Collins in 26, and then the Rams will come here in 29. It's a decent game.
Those are the kind of non-league games I like, because they have some ties to the past, but they're games that BYU, when they're fully staffed and fully, I don't want to say staffed with players, but they're deep enough and all that, those are games that they should win. But they're against opponents where there's some interest because they're regional and they're teams that they played in the past and they have some rivalry undertones.
You know who's played them in the past? Our first guest tonight. He knows all about beating Colorado State. His Cougars pounded the Rams 52-9 in 1984. He rushed for 48 yards and a touchdown and had 6 receptions for 93 yards and 2 more touchdowns. It's a pleasure to welcome national champion Kelly Smith to the Wise Guys from his home in St. George, Utah. Kelly, we see ya. It's great to have you on the Wise Guys.
Well, I hope you can hear me because who knows?
Yeah, we got you.
No, we got you. We got you.
You got me.
Hey, what do you remember from that day 40 years ago against Fort Collins? Were you just feeling it against the Rams?
Well, it's interesting because it's actually, I think I had 3 touchdowns in that game. Was the first time I had 3 in a game, and it was just one of those things. Everything worked out. I had a halfback out and up that I scored a long touchdown. I scored on a long run. Just, I don't know, things were working, and it's just nice that I got to be involved.
Hey, Blaine, you were involved in that game. 12 of 19, 138 yards, and a touchdown, but you did not throw a touchdown to Kelly.
No, because everybody else was begging me, and Kelly got his fair share. So, and then Kelly already scored 3 touchdowns like in the first quarter, so he got a little rest in that game. But, BYU's former offensive line coach, Kelly, Daryl Funk, reminded me, because he played at Colorado State during those days, and he was a D lineman that year. And he said, Blaine, what you probably don't remember is that you and I played against each other a lot, because I was a starter and you were the backup, and when you guys played us, you beat us so bad you played a lot and I was still in there. That's a good thing, right?
Hey, the only reason Blaine wasn't a starter for the whole year was about 2 inches, right, Blaine?
Yeah, that's probably true. Probably true. I appreciate that, Kelly.
And Blaine would have been a starter. I mean, they were that close. It could have been either way.
Hey, this is the 40th anniversary of the 1984 National Championship team. Does it feel like yesterday, or does it feel like 40 years ago?
You know, in some ways it feels like yesterday. In other ways, it feels like a long time ago. It's just when I get out of bed sometimes in the morning, my knees ache. It feels like a long time, but no, it went fast. If I could relive it and go back 40 years and redo it all again, I would.
You know, Kelly, when we get together, and we got to get together to film a documentary about that 1984 season just here a month or so ago. When we get together, then it feels like it wasn't that long ago, doesn't it? When you get together with the guys, what's that like when you get together with the teammates, and what's the feel?
That's the funnest part for me, is to see everybody and just kind of the memories that come back, and some of the games and just some of the things we did together. And it does seem like it was just yesterday. And to me, I look back, even though we won it all, I mean, the funnest memories are the things we did off of the field, just with the families, or, you know, husbands and wives, and hanging out and doing things like that. So, you know, that was as fun for me to see everybody up at that 40-year reunion thing that we did as it was 40 years ago.
There's going to be a lot of special treatment around this anniversary this season, including with the Deseret News and a big to-do there putting together, which both of you were involved in, BYU TV, and, of course, the football stadium. What do you want today's BYU fan to appreciate the most about 1984?
You know, it may never happen again. BYU may never go undefeated, and that was a big deal. To start the season unranked and then to finish the season 13-0 and the only undefeated team. I mean, you need to appreciate those type of things. There's been a few years that they've been close, maybe had one loss or even two, and there's been a lot of good teams go through BYU, but it's a hard thing to do, and it's going to be even tougher now that they're, 16 teams in the new conference, and what do you say, they were ranked like 13th out of the 16th to start the year. But hopefully now that BYU has the equal money and equal things going with that conference, I think they will catch up quick, and I think they'll be fine.
We have BYU National Champion running back Kelly Smith on the Wise Guys with us today, presented by BradyPlus. During that 84 season, Kelly rushed for 347 yards and 5 touchdowns. He caught 46 passes for 598 yards and 6 touchdowns. Most importantly, he scored twice to beat Michigan to complete the undefeated season. Kelly was the definition of an all-around, like, could just do anything for you in the backfield. He could have even thrown it if we wanted him to throw it.
Yeah, is that true? Could you have thrown it?
Blaine, you got to admit, I tried to get them to let me throw it, but they would always sneak you in there and throw it for me.
That was the advantage of me being a little shorter, because I look like a running back. They would put me and sneak me in and let me throw it. We did that a few times, right?
We did it 2 or 3 times that year, and I was always mad because I wanted to be able to throw it, but nope, Blaine got to come in and throw the halfback pass.
Yeah, I just saw your son Kyler the other night. I'm wondering, when you talk to your kids about that 84 season, what moment immediately comes to your mind as the number one thought?
I guess it's the last catch of the Michigan game. It didn't seem like a big deal at the time, but it's always shown on TV. It's always brought up. So if people are talking to my kids, somebody will say, "Yeah, I just saw your dad catch that pass," and so that's the only thing people remember. I keep thinking I'm going to drop it one of these times, and then people won't remember it at all. But luckily, once it gets recorded that you catch it, it stays there. But that's the big thing. I know my son Kyler, a time or two, he's wore my old jerseys to ball games. He's wore my ring more than I have, probably, because I don't ever wear it, because I don't even wear a wedding ring. Makes my wife a little upset. But I'd wear the national championship ring more than that, because it's harder to win a national championship than it is to get married. I used to joke about that, but not really.
Yeah. Good luck with you. Probably want to amend
hey, just
that
let me
one.
say that
40
Julie's
years.
a very patient person.
Yeah.
We're just going to say
Yes.
that.
So we're celebrating our 40th anniversary. We got married on July 13th, so that's just coming up this week, 40 years ago.
That's amazing.
And I used to
Congratulations.
joke that we were married on Friday the 13th. It was LaBelle's 13th season as head coach. Went 13-0. I had 13 touchdowns, and we won the national championship. So I always say 13 was my lucky number.
That is
a pretty good
amazing.
number.
Yeah, 13's your number.
What do you got planned for Saturday?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Well, it's interesting because we're actually playing together in our first tournament, in a pickleball tournament, all night Friday night till Saturday early. So like 9:30 at night till 2:30 in the morning.
Okay.
So I'm not sure after that. So we're playing in a pickleball tournament.
I bet she's good. She's tall and long and athletic. I bet she's good at pickleball.
She's got pretty good.
Yeah.
She does a good job.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, Michael on the live stream from Houston listening, having survived the hurricane that's blown through with just minor damage. Best of luck to everybody dealing with that.
Down there. Wow.
In Texas. Great to have you with us on the Wise Guys as we're visiting with Kelly Smith. Let's go back to that Holiday Bowl against Michigan. You catch 10 passes for 88 yards and the game-winning touchdown. What were you doing that the Wolverines just could not figure out?
Well, what was happening is I think that they thought they could get to the quarterback by blitzing. And we had a play which we called the halfback option, 69 halfback option. Blaine could talk about that. So if they were playing me man, I could break inside or out. If they were in zone, I would just spot up. And if they blitzed, I would just run a hot arrow. And they were blitzing every single time. And it was happening so fast that we changed it. And I didn't even run an arrow. Arrow route was kind of a hot out. I just kind of turned, and Robbie just threw it to me, and I'd catch it and run for 8 or 10 yards. And so they kept blitzing, thinking that was their game plan, that they could get to the quarterback because they didn't think I could block anybody because I wasn't that big. And we just kept throwing it, and their linebackers kept yelling at their coach saying, "What do you want me to do? You kept telling me to blitz," and they keep throwing it. So I think it was a combination of them making a mistake, thinking that they could get to us, and we just got the hot read off quick enough.
So, Blaine, you go to the line of scrimmage and you see they're about to blitz. What are you reading for this hot?
Well, first
pass?
of all, we're waiting for a call from the offensive line. So, and they're going to tell us what direction they're going to block. So Kelly's going to know which way, where the hot read's going to be. So let's say Connor pays the center. He wasn't. Ours was Trevor Manch. Trevor comes up and he says, "Ringo, Ringo," meaning we're all going to block one man to the right. So if they blitz, the last guy on the left is unaccounted for. And Kelly knows that, and I know that. So we're going to, when I take my first step back from the center, and when Kelly takes his first step toward his route, we're going to both look at that guy. And if he comes, Kelly's going to almost run at him like he's going to block him and slip right by him. And before he can get to me, I'm going to dump it around or over that guy. I'm going to get it to Kelly. And because they're blitzing, there's going to be nobody in that second level to pick up Kelly. I'm going to throw Kelly a ball, for all intents and purposes, on the line of scrimmage or 1 yard downfield. Kelly's going to turn around. He's going to get 10, 12, 13 yards with that. And it was like painful for defenses that blitz us, because what we would do is we would take advantage of what the defense did. If you're going to do this, you will pay. If you're going to do that, you will pay. And with Mike Holmgren and Norm Chow and the folks that we had, they did a great job of doing that. And Kelly was in there when I was in there in that game, caught a few balls. We completed a crazy scramble first down where Kelly just found a spot. Whenever Kelly was one-on-one with a linebacker, it was a completion. They couldn't cover him. And Kelly, I have to tell you, we had Hinckley Ropati on the show last week, who's BYU's #1 running back coming in to the fall. And I said, what's different? He goes, well, I don't want to give away some of the things we're doing different. And he said, I said, no, you're not giving away. And he goes, we've been working on a ton of halfback option routes where they're clearing out for me and letting me get isolated on backers and stuff, because I love to catch the ball in the backfield. And I was like, oh, that puts a smile on your face, doesn't it, Kelly? Because that play.
It does, because they've gone away from that. They haven't used that near as much as what we did. I mean, by the end of the year, Robbie would just come into the huddle and go, "Okay, Kelly, here we go." And everybody there knew we were running a 69 halfback option. And it was unstoppable if I made the right move and Robbie just knew, hey, he's going inside or he's going out or spotting up or just hit him hot. And I think there's 10 catches in that game. 8 of them were the halfback option. And the last one of the game was supposed to be the halfback option, hopefully to hit the tight end behind me, but they held him up. And so when Robbie scrambled, I just broke, because we have scramble rules, and I was on the outside, so I just broke to the end zone, and he found me luckily. And so it still was a halfback option that turned into a broken play. And as Blaine mentioned, I think I had 2 or 3 catches almost every game from a scramble. And that was a big part of our offense, that people don't realize that there are a few rules in place for the running back and the tight end just to get open if the quarterback has to scramble.
Yeah.
And we were really good at that. And that was one of the things that we excelled in during that 1984 season.
So on that touchdown, Kelly, you run that option and you chose to go out.
Right.
And you got to the sideline. You stop up on the sideline. When you get to the sideline, when you saw Robbie stepping up inside, you're like, I got to get back in his vision. So you just turned and went up the sideline. Is that what?
Correct.
And did you have to think about that, or is that just like automatic? You know exactly where you're supposed to go.
No, it was an automatic because we always said if you were on the outside, you broke to the end zone, and if you were inside, you cross the field so the quarterback could see in his vision. And I just broke up the sideline, and he happened to find me. So
I thought
it's part of the rule.
It's ironic that on that last play, Michigan finally put 2 guys on you. And then when they held the tight end, and that changed the play and broke it really on a broken play, and then you took off to the end zone. But they finally figured out Kelly Smith's not going to beat us on this play, and then you beat them on that play, on the broken play. So you catch the ball, you see it coming to you, you know you have to catch it. You got guys on you. I don't know if it was a great throw or not. What were you thinking when you put your hands up there, and did you even have time to think, hey, this is the winning touchdown catch?
No, I've never thought of that in any of the games. I just was, hey, this is my route. This is where I'm running. The ball comes. I better catch it. I don't remember dropping too many over the years, but I just caught it. And it was a bigger deal after it was over because there was so many people hugging me, tackling me, and I don't know how many of you know Vi's Sikahema's dad, but he was in the middle. I don't know how he was in the end zone for every touchdown, but he was like the first ones there hugging me, and he's a fan. He's not even a player.
That's awesome. People may not remember how fast you were, Kelly, but you're a track star in high school down at Beaver High. Set all kinds of records running track. And that's why BYU could isolate you, because you're coming out of the backfield. But you ran like in the low 4.4s, high 4.3s.
So at the pro timing date, I run a 4.38.
Yeah, there you go. So that's as fast as
to
anybody in the country, by the way, folks.
Right. At that time, back then, that was fast. And I remember when I went to the Giants as a free agent, and I missed a few games my senior year, but one of the things that Belichick was the receiver coach, and they called me in and was talking to me. And the funny thing they said is that just so you know, you're the second fastest person we've clocked in the second fastest white kid we've clocked in the 40.
I love that he said that, right?
And I don't know what I didn't know how to respond because I wanted to say, well, who's the fastest white kid? But they didn't say anything about the black kids. They just said you're the second fastest white kid we've clocked in the 40 at that time, and that was back in like 85.
So, and Kelly, you're being a little bit modest because you said 4.38 was fast at that time. 4.38 is fast right now. 4.38 is fast right
in the
now.
4.2s, and now they're saying people in the 4.2s. But yeah, the 4.38 was pretty fast.
Yeah.
Brett's with us, checking in from Tulsa, Oklahoma, on our Wise Guys live stream. Former walk-on turned national champion BYU running back Kelly Smith is on the Wise Guys live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and wiseguys.com. There were a lot of moments in that 84 season that made it special, including a dinner with the first presidency in the Quorum of the 12 of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the school sponsor. This prior to the bowl game. Tell us about that and what you remember on that night.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite nights because, growing up LDS, been on a mission, knowing the prophet and his counselors and things like that. But the funniest thing I remember is the night before we went, LaBelle called the whole team together, and we were all huddled up, and the members and non-members alike, and he was joking, saying, now remember, this is a big deal. It's kind of like coming to my house for dinner. Make sure you're on your best behavior, you're dressed nice, and this is a big deal. And we, as members, knew that that's a lot bigger deal than that, but that's how LaBelle kind of come across. And then when we went, there was a table of maybe 10 or 15 set up for each Quorum of the 12 member. And I remember we had, I think it was down H Oaks. And I remember as it went around, we introduced ourselves, and he goes, oh, Kelly Smith, 21 from Beaver, you're fast. And that was just caught me off guard because I didn't know that they even knew who I was or anything about it. But he was quite avid BYU fan and went to most of the games, and he says, I'll be in Africa, but I'll be flying back for that game. He says, I'm not going to miss it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember interviewing Elder Holland one time, and I asked him, when you're on the road in football season, do you find a way to watch the games or listen to the games? And he said, I never miss a game. Even if I'm up at 3 a.m. on the other side of the planet, I'm listening. I never miss a BYU game.
Yeah, he still does.
They love it. And then that connection made you feel you were playing for something a little bit bigger than just the guys on the team and BYU.
It was, and it wasn't like we felt the pressure. It seemed like, who was one of the players, Blaine, that mentioned like, oh, don't let down the 10 million members of the church or something, that was joking.
Yeah.
Because they had a few of the players talk, but somebody made a comment like that. But it didn't really think that was a big deal. And we were undefeated at the time, and we're like, we didn't know if we're going to win a national championship regardless if we won or lost, because it was out of our hands. And it was probably one of the few times that a national championship had to wait 2 or 3 weeks before they ever knew what was going to happen. And so that took a lot of the fun and excitement out of the national championship for us as players and families, because it was like, oh, okay, we finally won it, instead of just celebrating on the field and showing us the trophy and doing all that like they do now. It was just a big, different deal, and we're just lucky that they actually still voted for us.
Yeah, there was, when you were telling the story of going to that dinner and Lavelle's talk the night before, I remembered something that he said. I just remembered this. He's like, guys, I'm talking about Sunday best, and he goes like, so you guys from Idaho, no bib overalls. That's what he said.
Exactly what he said.
He would always have these little subtle, dry ways, just like, you guys from Idaho, no bib overalls up to meet the first presidency, please. So
he did say that. That was awesome.
Kelly, what has it been like being number one, being a national champion, even those years ago? What has it meant to you in your life?
It's meant a lot, just because a lot of people like to bring it up and talk about it. And I got a lot of Utah fans and a lot of BYU fans. And it's kind of fun because we can tease the Utah fans. I mean, it's probably funner for me to tease them, that we won it, because they get so upset that, just let it go, BYU. It's been 40 years and all that. And it's a tough thing to do. I still like to tease them every time I see him, because I got a friend that's he goes nuts about how great Utah is every year, and I just have to tease him that, now, how many national championships have you guys won? and it really upsets him. He goes, well, how many Rose Bowls have you won? And then I tease him. I said, wait a minute, I think you've lost the last couple Rose Bowls.
Yeah, but they haven't won any of those.
Yeah,
I know. It's just one of those fun things, and
Sure.
it's back when we first moved here to St. George, and they were replaying every game from the national championship season. It seemed like every year they played them 3 or 4 times. And I remember 2:30 in the morning once I get a phone call, and that's before cell phones. And one of the guys in my ward, hey, I'm watching the BYU National Championship. I just wondered if you're watching it. And I'm thinking, why would I be watching that at 2:30 in the morning? I played the game. I don't care to watch it again. And he's just like, they get so caught up into it that was just a big deal. They had to call me and tell me he was watching that. But, it's just fun. There's not as many of the younger people know about it. It's still a lot more of the older generation that's knows how big a deal it was. The young ones are like, what's BYU done lately? And and it's not the same for them.
Kelly, you've had such you're a great player, integral part of a national championship, and then you went on to coach. A lot of people don't realize you coached for a number of years with Croshaw down at Dixie State, back when it was Dixie State, before it was Utah Tech. Had to recruit, had to play. You guys played at the highest level, at competing for national championships back in those days. So you come from a big knowledge base of not only having played but coached, and you have a vested interest in this BYU program. Now, you watched them last season. You stay close to it. What do they need to do to take a step forward this year, and then to continue to take steps forward to be able to compete at this level in college football in a P5 league?
I think you've mentioned it before. I think their depth is a big deal. It seems like, when we played my freshman year, what was there back then? I think 105 scholarships, and there was like 24 full-ride scholarships that year, and I was one of the ones that didn't receive one, but we still had a JV program. Now there's like 85 scholarships, I think, but it seems like BYU doesn't have the depth that some of these other teams have. So if any person goes down that's an important person on the team, makes a big difference. But this NIL deal and being able to travel and to transfer every year, I think that's making it really difficult for BYU. But watching them, I've had relatives playing and things like that, and they're still a fun team to watch. I think they just need to maybe get back to what they used to do and, play hard-nosed football and maybe try not to be too fancy and just run over people.
Yeah, I think that's the goal for starting next month.
Absolutely.
Run the ball, take care of it, and win some games. Kelly Smith's with us. Let's wrap this up with 5 questions. I think he's ready.
Yeah, we're going to do this. Just off the top of your head, quick as you can think of them. What's your favorite sports movie?
Favorite sports movie? Ooh, that's going to be tough. I like a lot of different sports movies, but
yeah. So what's the one that comes to mind?
I'm thinking Space Jam for him, but maybe not.
Space Jam?
Not Space Jam. Definitely not Space Jam.
Dave Rice, by the way, is going to join us in just a moment. We'll plug him while Kelly's
tough
lost
one.
in thought.
I'll come back to that one. Give me another question.
Okay, your favorite singer or band, performing artist?
Oh, love the Beatles.
Beatles.
Okay, I was afraid he was going to go Taylor Swift. Your favorite breakfast cereal?
Ooh, Frosted Mini Wheats.
All right.
Thank goodness they were frosted.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, that's a good one. Okay, your favorite sports moment of all time. It's something you played. It doesn't even have to be one that you played in. Just your favorite sports moment.
Favorite sports moments. I think I'm going to go back to my high school. We were undefeated, playing for the state championship, and our football coach would run it 10 times in a row. He'd sweep right, sweep left, whatever. He would never pass it, hardly ever. And he called timeout, and it's like 3rd and 6 from the 3-yard line. Got to go 97 yards. And he says, "What do you think?" And I says, "Hey, just throw the screen one time. You haven't done it ever. That's going to catch them off guard. They're not going to expect it. Throw it." He says, "No, they're going to pick it, and they're going to touchdown. They'll beat us." I say, "If I catch it, I'm going to go 97 yards. We're going to win we're going to win the state championship." And sure enough, he called it, and they came and he dumped it kind of like the halfback option, and I went 97 yards and scored, and we ended up winning the state championship and went undefeated. And
wait, you called as a player.
I told the coach
a screen on your own 3-yard line and went 97 yards for a touchdown. That is a good moment.
Correct. And so it was just the moment was that I actually convinced the coach to call it.
That's awesome.
He would not do it.
I have a question for you about Lavelle. Used to say that he used to sing the Beaver fight song, but that wasn't really he used to sing, "I'm a beaver, whack my tail real hard."
Slap my tail real hard.
Yeah, that's not really the fight song.
Build a dam, a beaver man is what I am. But he
really
thought it was ours, but he really doesn't know where it came from. I don't know where it came from.
He made that up. Lavelle made that up.
I think he might have made it up because when I'm standing in the line at Lavelle's funeral, Patty goes, "You better be at the funeral because the fight song's coming out because one of the grandkids are going to sing that." And every time they went through Beaver, they'd sing that. So I learned the song just so that him and I could sing it together when people asked me. And I said, "What's the second verse?" He goes, "Oh, it's just easy. It's the same as the first. Just sing it again."
Second verse, same as the first. So he made up his own Beaver high school fight song, and you learned it just so you could sing it with him.
Correct.
That's
and we
awesome.
sang it together at so many different events. It was awesome.
You're a team player.
That's great. Okay, here's your last question. I had to know that one because I knew you sang that. I thought that cannot be the Beaver fight song that Lavelle
It's
sing.
not.
So
I've never heard it, but I have spoke at Beaver and I've sang that song. I tried to get him to learn it, and they don't.
So tell us the words once more. I'm a beaver.
I'm a beaver, slap my tail real hard, chew the bark and build a dam. A beaver man is what I am.
That's creative and wonderful, and that's not the Beaver fight song, but it should be.
Scoring leader at Beaver High School.
That's right. Okay, so this is the most important one of all, and you mentioned to us that it's your 40th wedding anniversary on Saturday. So what's the best advice that Julie, your wife, has ever given you?
The best advice that she's given me, or the best advice at all, is just we at least go on a date every week. Whether it's even when we were poor, we walked around the block or we did whatever. The best thing is continue to court your wife and to always do something with them at least once a week and communicate. And I love her as much today or more than I did 40 years ago, and I have one of the best.
Words to live by.
And she's the best.
I know her well. I thought
Put
maybe
up
the best.
with me for 40 years. That's got to be something. I told her she screwed up by saying yes one time. That was her fault.
Yep. And
that was the rest is yours. That was her fault.
Yeah,
It's been your fault ever since.
And that is great advice. The part I circled was you got to continue to court your wife.
Correct.
Even after 40 years, right?
Don't take them for granted. Make sure you're always, and I do pretty much, if she ever asks, it's like, hey, I'm doing it. I don't question if I need to wash dishes, make beds, vacuum. You don't question, you just do it.
That's the law of good marriage. If the mom is happy, everybody's happy. We all know that rule, right?
Hey, have you come up with a sports movie yet? You'd be the first guest in the history of the show to not have one.
Your favorite sports movie? Do we need to give you some ideas?
The only one that comes to mind, I didn't mind Remember the Titans. Was
okay.
all right.
That's the number one on the show, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only one that's coming to my mind.
Okay, that's a good one.
Okay, we'll take that
go
one.
with that one.
We'll take
All
it.
right.
So,
All right, the Pride of Beaver High School, which is 155 miles south of Provo. Kelly Smith. Look for a special edition on in the Deseret News commemorating the 1984 National Championship
Hey, I have
season.
a trivia question for you two.
okay. We got this.
I think I'm still on the state records for one. I mean, my rushing yards finally got broken.
You're talking about the Utah High School state records?
Yes, I was on there for like 30 something years before, but I think it was like 2,500 yards in one season. I had 36 touchdowns. But what record am I still number one in the state of Utah? And I don't know if it'll ever get broken.
All classifications?
All classifications.
I'm going to say scoring
Oh, you got it.
because there's touchdowns, there's extra points.
And you kicked. I remember you kicked.
He knew. We talked
Yeah.
about this.
We
So
no, we both
I don't
knew
know
that.
if I remember.
I had
but
the 36
it
touchdowns,
sounded
but
about
I
right.
had like, I don't know, 5 field goals and like 51 extra points. And so the scoring is going to be a tough one to break because when you come from a small school, I never come off the field.
Yeah.
You know, you kicked it, extra point, field goal. But
So the record that may never be broken
May never be
in the
broken.
state of Utah is Kelly Smith's all-time scoring record.
Look, we're
okay, I
glad.
got one more good one for you guys.
Okay.
Okay?
So Steve Young's left-handed, right-footed.
Right. And golf's right-handed, which is weird.
Right. I'm right-handed and left-footed. Now, I was just watching Djokovic in tennis, and all of them were watching the soccer game going on, and he pretended he kicked the ball left-footed, and after they'd asked him, he says, well, I'm actually left-footed and right-handed. So I'm like, hey, these athletes, they must be a good athlete if you're right-handed, left-footed, or vice versa. Like Djokovic is that way, Steve Young, and myself. Are you Blaine?
No, but it's interesting. Steve's younger brother, Mike. You know, Steve throws left and kicks right, and then Mike throws right and kicks left.
See, that's me. I throw right and kick left.
Yeah, that's messed
So I
up.
kicked all the extra points left-footed and field goals when I was in high school.
That is crazy, and it's completely messed up, and
That is.
that's why he's crazy, and that's why I love him.
Hey, congratulations on 40 years. Good luck in the pickleball tournament
Thanks
on
so much
Friday.
for having
Go
me.
win that, Kelly. Go win that pickleball
Enjoy
tournament.
this 40-year anniversary national championship season. There'll be a lot to do, and you had a lot to do with it. The great Kelly Smith. Thanks for being with us.
A lot of fun. Keep it up. I'll have to start listening to you now.
Yeah, would
gotta
you?
do it.
It
Gotta
really
do
helped.
it.
Tell
Hey,
your friends.
Recruit all of St. George for us, would you?
Hey, we'll do it.
Okay,
All
brother.
right.
Thanks,
Kelly
Kelly.
Smith.
Hey, see ya.
Number 21 at BYU caught the game winner to beat Michigan and secure the undefeated season, win the national championship on the Wise Guys tonight. Let's bring in our next guest who has meandered into our lair here in Provo. And as he settles in, I'll tell you what's next for Jimmer Fredette is the Paris Olympics. Jimmer and his 3x3 team won back-to-back tune-up tournaments in Canada, including Sunday's finale in Edmonton. So up next for Jimmer's pool play in Paris on July 30th against Serbia. You can see our recent Wise Guys interview with Jimmer about going to the Olympics at wiseguys.com and on our YouTube channel. Our next guest was as much a part of Jimmermania as anybody, including Jimmer himself. He was the assistant coach overseeing the offense during that magical period, and now he's back in the state of Utah as the new head coach at Salt Lake Community College. It's our pleasure to welcome our longtime and dear friend Dave Rice to the Wise Guys. Welcome back to Provo. It's good to see you.
We had a great time, our 6 years in Provo. Magical years for sure.
Did you remember? Driving through here to get to here. Did you recognize some of the streets? It's been a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we still have a lot of friends here. My wife Mindy and I spend a lot of time here with friends. And
Yeah.
again, we were a year at Utah State, and then came south 6 years with Coach Rose, and just fabulous years.
And you guys lived up in a great neighborhood up in Orem where my sister
Yes,
lives and my
yes.
mom and dad lived.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
those were great times. We loved when you were here.
And our son Travis played baseball, Super League baseball with your
With
nephew
Jake,
Jake.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Dave and I are tied to you a lot before that, because you had all those years where you were at UNLV, and Dave and I were covering UNLV basketball during those
Absolutely.
days, and then we got to know you. So we were thrilled when you came up here.
Sports West. And
Yeah,
yeah.
we had so much fun during those years.
Colorado on the live stream. Everybody around the world, check it in. We appreciate having you with us on the Wise Guys. So we like honesty on this show. That's kind of our motto,
Yeah,
right?
honesty is
And
our motto.
So tell us, Dave, when Dave Rose called a timeout and the guys gathered around you to discuss what offense you're about to do, did you ever say, Jimmer, just get the ball and go shoot it?
Absolutely. One of the great
Now tell us
lessons.
some of those.
One of the great lessons that I learned was get out of the way. Don't get in the way of a great player.
Yeah.
And sometimes your best offense is just simply clearing the floor and telling Jimmer to go to work. And we had great shooters around him.
Right.
You know, Jackson Emery did a
Sure.
great job, and Brandon Davies did a great job in the post, and we had Tyler Haas and Collinsworth brothers. I mean, it was a really good group of players during that time. And I think the greatest part about it was the chemistry of our team. I mean,
Yeah.
we were talented, no doubt about it, but just the team chemistry was something to behold.
Yeah, Emery, it felt like to me, hey, if Jimmer drove and they doubled and he kicked it out to Jackson, he was going to make the shot. Like, he was so reliable from there. But I remember talking to Coach Miles at Colorado State at the time. We were doing BYU in Colorado State, and he goes, yeah, you know, I hear Jimmer. He's unbelievable. And we're just going to try to slow him down a little bit. He goes, I'll tell you what makes me mad, though. I've never seen a defender that could, in a point in the game, say, my team needs a defensive play. I'm going to go steal the ball this time down the floor, and I'm going to get us a point on the other end by what I do on defense. He goes, he could just dial up a defensive moment and go execute it. And he says, that's harder than making a shot. Did you feel that way about him out there, that he was that elite of a defensive player?
Jackson was the heart and soul of our team. I mean, he was a guy who could impact a game on the defensive end, and he made a lot of great plays offensively. But his ability to change the game defensively was difference making for us. And
You know, sometimes Jimmer will say, because Jackson had all these steals, he goes, hey, have you seen my steals? I'm like number 7 all time.
Yeah, he always
he's
he
had some steals. Got some assists in there
that's
too.
because that's because Jackson tipped him to Jimmer. So-
Did you have to tell Jimmer, hey, you're shooting too much?
no.
Never like, hey, spread it around, or
Did
No,
you ever have a game where you're like, Jimmer, you're being too unselfish, like you need to shoot it?
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
you had
really.
those games.
For sure. And I'll tell you, the guy who really changed our program was Lee Camard.
Yeah.
I mean, Jimmer gets a lot of credit, and for good reason, because of what he brought, and he put us on the map. But Lee Camard really symbolized and characterized what we wanted our program to be about. It's selfless, all about team. I mean, there was a late in Lee's career, we were playing Long Beach State at home. We had a relatively new team, and this will tell you all you need to know about Lee. We were struggling in the game. Long Beach had a good team. We came back. Lee ended up scoring 36 points against Long Beach, and we won. And the next day he came into the team and he said, I apologize for shooting so much. I said, what are you talking about? We wouldn't have won if you hadn't done that. He said, well, I won't do that anymore. He was
Wow.
such a team guy.
Yeah, and Lee could kind of do whatever you want him to do. Go shut down that perimeter player. Don't let him score. Or we need you to go get 14 boards. He could kind of do it all, couldn't
Absolutely.
he? Yeah.
what was the challenge in coaching these kinds of talents? And of course, Jimmer's heading to the Olympics, so that's kind of the buzz, and you're in the middle of Jimmermania, and we want to talk about that a little bit. But when you've got that kind of a talent, while you're trying to run an offense with everybody, how does it work when you have a superstar mixed in with the 4, and you're looking for cohesiveness, you're looking for teamwork, you're looking for sharing the ball, and yet you've got a guy who's going to win National Player of the Year?
It's interesting because our program was characterized by unselfish play, for sure. A lot of assists. We were near the top of the country in assists for the first many years, and yet Jimmer was a phenomenal talent, and our guys understood it, and it worked because of how the other guys understood that we needed Jimmer, but Jimmer also understood how much he needed them.
Yeah.
And so the combination of those things really made it work. And Coach Rose was a master of just pushing the right buttons. And I mean, there's a reason why the 6 years that I was here with Coach Rose, I think we were 159 or 158 and 49, and
That's something.
5 league titles. And
159 and 46.
Is that what it was?
That's incredible.
5 league titles, two seasons we won over 30 games.
Yeah.
And it was different personnel at different times. I mean, you start with Austin Ainge and Mike Rose and Jimmy Balderson in that group. And,
Yeah.
And just the names changed, but the style of play stayed the same. And Coach Rose was a great defensive coach. I mean, we were underrated defensively. Rim protectors, Brandon Davies.
Yeah.
Noah Hartsock became a very good player for us.
You played on some teams at UNLV, national championship team at UNLV, with some of the best talent ever assembled on a college basketball floor. Did that experience help you, and has it helped you throughout your career as a coach to kind of understand how to deal with talent? I don't even know, was there enough basketballs on the floor for that national championship team you played on?
I think you learn how to manage talent. And it's like making a lot of money. It's a tax problem. It's a great problem to have, but it's nonetheless a problem. And coaching talent, managing talent, because there's egos involved. And so pushing the right buttons, making sure that Jonathan Tavernari gets a shot every now and then, because he's going to shoot.
Or 20.
Yeah. Well, when it was his time, right?
When JT gets hot, he was as good as anyone in the country, and he won games for us. But you had to understand how to push those right buttons, and you understand that Jimmer was going to get his shot to where was he going to be, and then giving other guys an opportunity, giving Chris Miles a post touch. Chris just wanted to be part of it, and he was so important to us defensively in his post presence, but he wanted to be part of the offense, and for good reason. And so we throw it to him in the post, and he's going to make a pass out to someone. And those are all the things that I learned. I've been really fortunate in my career. I played for Coach Tarkanian, and then had the opportunity to work for Stu Morrill at Utah State, and then for Coach Rose. So I've been really fortunate with the guys I've worked for.
When Jimmer's a freshman, he's at the end of your bench, and this brings up a question of today's play in college basketball and the way things are. You've got a future National Player of the Year at the end of your bench as a freshman waiting for his turn. And he waits, and you get him in there as a sophomore, he starts to really produce. A lot of kids don't want to wait. And do you use that experience to coach your kids of, hey, look, just let us develop you and you can be everything. But you just don't need to be it right now. And as great as Jimmer finished, we didn't know who he was at the end of the bench when he was a freshman waiting for his turn.
We knew he was going to be pretty good. I remember seeing him the first time he came to summer camp.
Yeah.
And he made about 2 moves, and we said, that guy's pretty good. And we hope that some of those Big East schools don't recruit him. And in the end, we were able to get him. Yeah. But it took some time. And he still averaged 7 points a game as a freshman and had some nice games. But he was a freshman. And midway through his sophomore year, we were playing at San Diego State, and we were down at half, and he became Jimmer. He took over the game.
So that's when is that when you said, okay, he's ready?
Yeah, that's when you knew that this kid was going to be something really, really special.
And what do you tell kids that don't want to wait? And if you make them wait, I'm just going to transfer. And now they can.
Yeah.
Which is a whole new dynamic for you.
And you were talking about the teams that I played on. I mean, people will say, well, how would those teams do against the teams around? Well, we'd kill them because we had seniors.
Right.
I mean,
go through your starting 5 that year.
Yeah, I mean, Larry Johnson is a fourth-year senior. Stacey Augman's a fifth-year senior. Greg Anthony's a fifth-year senior. George Ackle's a fifth-year senior.
Yeah.
Anderson Hunt's a fourth-year junior. I mean, that doesn't happen now. I mean, guys don't win a national championship in 1990 and come back for their senior year.
Right.
And all 5 of those guys played in the NBA, right?
Majority of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, George didn't play that long.
George got drafted by the Miami Heat.
Right. But they all had a run in the NBA. How many college teams do they have 5 guys that are NBA talent level? It's your team. The combination of talent and experience, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah,
that was rare.
Any coach would just dream of having 5 seniors on their roster.
That team that you guys had, is it the best group of talent? And you guys had depth. Is that the best team that's ever been in college basketball?
We think so. Yeah. I'm sure there's some other teams that would make an argument, but again, it's what made our teams under Coach Rose at BYU so good was we had experienced guys, we had team chemistry, we played together, and we had a belief. That's my favorite word, a belief. When we walked on the court, we thought we were going to win because we were going to do it together. Jackson was going to get a steal, and Jimmer was going to make a basket, and Brandon Davies was going to get a defensive rebound, and Lee Camard was going to make a play. There was just a belief that we were going to find a way to win because we were going to do it together.
Part of your offensive scheme when you were here at BYU is to get guys like Jimmer space in the ball. And now he's playing 3x3 in the Olympics, and he was just on with us, and they got a shot at the gold medal. And Jimmer's now playing with all the space in the world because there's only 3 defenders out there. Would anything less than a gold medal surprise you from Team USA coming back from Paris?
I fully expect him to bring home the gold. It's tailor-made for him, for how he plays, and he just, again, use that word, he has a belief that he's going to find a way to put the ball in the basket. I mean, I still think about the New Mexico game in the conference tournament when he got 54 and New Mexico had just beaten us.
And he only had 1 free throw attempt.
Yeah.
Who does that, right?
Jimmer.
Yeah. Yeah, Fran Fraschilla, I guess, recruited him, and we all know Fran well, an ESPN analyst now, and he just said, this game is designed for a guy like Jimmer, right? And so he should thrive over there and be a star, right?
Yeah.
So is the world ready for Jimmermania to go global?
I think so.
What was the craziest moment in that? There were times where the fans stormed the floor after San Diego State, but you as a staff and with Jimmer, did you look at Dave Rose and you just going, what was like the Beatles are here? What is going on? And you've got to manage it all.
I mean, we had Coach Lavelle Edwards doing videos.
Yeah, that's right, on the big screen. And
You got
everything.
Jimmered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our Hall of Fame coach, yes.
with Sean Bradley and
This is so fun.
Did you ever you look around and you go, hey, there was no course for this?
absolutely. And I thought they would show the maturity of our group and the leadership of Coach Rose and our staff. Tim Lacombe, who's on the staff, and Terry Nashif.
Well, BYU former assistant coach and new head coach at Salt Lake Community College, Dave Rice, is on the Wise Guys, presented by BradyPlus. You're forever connected with BYU.
Absolutely.
And eventually here we're going to talk about your new team, but you're forever connected because the Jimmermania stuff and the offense and what BYU did gets you the head job at UNLV. And they should have hired you years before, but we were glad you had 6 years at BYU. And so do you feel connected? Do you feel connected with BYU? I mean, now we're two coaches removed now with Kevin Young coming in. But Dave Rose and his group, your group, still beloved characters at BYU. But you've been Nevada, Washington, UNLV, and now Salt Lake Community. But we consider you a BYU guy. Do you consider your roots still intact?
Absolutely. We're a BYU family for sure. I mean, again, we have great friends in the area. We had 6 magical years in Provo. Our 2 boys, Travis and Dylan, went to Provo schools and played youth sports and still have great friends. And it just was a wonderful time. I mean, Coach Rose gave me an opportunity to come in here and be the offensive coordinator for 6 years and believed in me. And it was a wonderful time.
And it was not all great when you consider a phone call you get from Coach Rose after he gets diagnosed with cancer, and all of a sudden the associate head coach is the head coach, Dave Rice, and there's a time there where you just weren't quite sure what was going to happen.
2009, I remember it well. I remember getting the call from Cheryl, and tremendous concern. It was the summertime, and Coach Rose meant everything to our program, and we weren't worried about winning basketball games anymore. We were just worried about having Coach Rose be part of what we were doing. And thank goodness it all worked out, and he's just absolutely a friend and a mentor, and it's meant so much to so many people and so many players. And I just have great memories when I come back to Provo.
Yeah.
And he's still doing great things. We had he and his son on the show, and they're out on the speaking circuit and making a difference in people's lives still, even though he's retired, which is really cool. Yeah. And for you, now here's this new opportunity. Mm-hmm. You're up at Salt Lake Community College, and this is a big-time program at that level. They were 30-4 last year, but this is your team now. What do you see in the future? What stamp do you want to put on this team as you become the head coach and take them into the future?
I think it starts with the fact that we love the state of Utah. Yeah. And it gave me an opportunity, gave our family, my wife Mindy loves Utah, and become a head coach again in the state is exciting. There's great tradition in the program. We've won 2 national championships. Norm Parrish won 1. Todd Phillips, who's obviously at UVU, won 1. And then Kyle Taylor, whom I took over for, has had a really good run.
Yeah.
But there's great tradition. And it's just an opportunity to put together a really good roster. There's great basketball played in the state. I've said it many times, the high school coaching here in state is second to none. And so we can put a combination of Utah guys on the floor with national recruiting, and I think we can have a roster that looks similar in terms of how it's made up with what we did at BYU.
How has your coaching style evolved over the years from before BYU, UNLV, Washington, Nevada, Salt Lake Community College? What's the Dave Rice style?
I think I learned a lot from Coach Rose. I always said the greatest compliment I could give to Coach Rose was he hired very good assistant coaches. He let them do their jobs, but there was never a doubt who was in charge. And I just think that he had no ego. He just wanted to find a way to get the best players on the floor, get the best coaches in the locker room, let them do their jobs, and put a good product on the floor that fans could be proud of and the administration could be proud of. And we certainly had great administration when I was at BYU. I mean, President Samuelson was a wonderful mentor for all of us, and obviously Tom Homo and Brian Santiago are still here, and things are really looking up for BYU, and so I'm excited to see how that goes.
What do you think of this Kevin Young?
I think it's a great opportunity for Coach Young.
Are you surprised that they were able to get him from the NBA?
I think it speaks volumes about what a special place BYU is.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks volumes about the potential, and obviously having Danny Ainge involved is a quasi-mentor, consultant, whatever it may be, I think is important. And I just think with the investment they've made in athletics, with the need for NIL money, and I think they really have a chance to take the next step. And I think it comes down to, I think the one thing, the follow-up question is, what do they need to do? Because I know you asked Kelly Smith about it. I think it's about belief. Yeah. I do. I think they've got players in place. I think they got a great coaching staff. I think it's about when our teams under Coach Rose walked on the floor, we thought we were going to win. We thought we deserved to win because of how we practiced, because of how we stayed together. I think it's not their talent. It's not their schemes. Coach Young will figure all that out. It's about a belief that we belong in the Big 12 and we belong on the national stage.
I love that. We talked about Coach Rose doing great things and still contributing. You have been really, really active in supporting research and help in the autism world. Help all of our fans around the globe understand what the Dave Rice Foundation is. It's focused on education and support when it comes to autism, and how they can get involved and help.
Well, my wife Mindy is really the star, and she's the one that has put all the work in. But our youngest son Dylan was diagnosed on the autism spectrum when he was 3. Didn't talk the first 3 years of his life, and the journey for us to try to kind of find a diagnosis was difficult, and we had resources. So for those who don't, we just wanted to provide a mechanism, an avenue for families who are affected by autism to have an opportunity to get those resources, to get early diagnosis, to get early help. And so we established the Dave Rice Foundation. We felt like we had a platform and some public notoriety, and so we thought this would be a good cause because it's something that's so near and dear to our hearts. And so over the course of time, we've been able to raise quite a bit of money through the generosity and benevolence of people. And so it's something that's very near and dear to our hearts, and I'm thankful for my wife and what she's meant to the whole cause. She's the one who's done all the work.
What's the best way for Cougar Nation to participate, contribute, get more information about the foundation?
Probably the best way is just social media, Dave Rice Foundation.
Okay.
It's on X. I would like to say Twitter, but it's
I know
X.
we still call it Twitter. We're old school, but it's X.
Yeah.
Hey, visiting with Dave Rice. By the way, you averaged 26.5 wins a season in your 6 years at BYU. 26.5.
That's legendary.
So, as you know, Cougar Nation is like global, and there's millions, but there's only like 16 roster spots at BYU, and you have some roster spots up there at Salt Lake Community. So, what's your pitch? What's your plan to get the best players for your team to continue dominance at the junior college level? There's BYU around here, there's Utah Valley, there's Utah State, Weber State, and Westminster. So all that stuff going around here. What's your plan to get the guys?
I think it's just, we talk about showcasing great individual talent, but doing it in a team concept and doing it in a fun atmosphere. We're going to share the ball. We're going to play team basketball. We're going to play together, and you're going to have fun going to practice every day. And we're going to get you the exposure that you deserve and get you to the spot that you can play your best basketball. And we want you to have aspirations of playing professional basketball, but the starting point is to come to us and let us help you develop your game on and off the court. And
so you're a launch pad.
Absolutely. And well, obviously we're going to win games, but I feel in a sense, Coach Calipari talks about it. Yes, we have to win games. We need to compete for championships, but it's also my job to help get the guys to the highest level they can get to. That's a responsibility and obligation that I have as a coach there.
So you can, and the message, I guess, then is you can get there from here. Wherever you want to go, you can get there from here.
So like when the university calls you, you put them on, when the University of Utah calls you, put them on hold. And then when BYU calls about one of your guys, you answer right away. Is that pretty much the understood formula?
Exactly how it should be.
How that's supposed to...
Is it time for a break?
He's got to be tied into all of it. So.
It is time for 5 questions.
Yeah, that's
for
right.
Dave Rice. And I know you listened a little bit to Kelly Smith's 5 questions. So I don't know if it'll take a half hour for us to do this like it did Kelly.
Dave and I asked each other a question earlier. This isn't part of the 5 questions, but we were going to introduce you this way, and we forgot. But we decided, and we've been involved with UNLV basketball for years and years. You know that, right? Way back. You're the smartest player ever to play at UNLV. There's no question.
You're not denying it either.
No, he is the smartest. Dave is the smartest player to ever play basketball at UNLV, and that is undeniable.
Yeah. And that's a pretty cool thing. Like, not only did you play on the maybe one of the greatest teams in the history of the game, you were the smartest player to ever suit up at UNLV. And Dave and I decided that. It was a 2-person vote, and we voted you in.
It was unanimous.
Yeah. Rhodes Scholar.
That's what we're your friends.
I enjoyed my time there for sure.
Yeah.
I played with a lot of really talented guys who were much more talented than I was, so I had to be pretty smart.
Wait, who was the best you ever played with? Was it Larry?
He was yeah.
Larry Johnson.
You know what's
Grandmama.
interesting? Today, the Team USA is down there practicing at UNLV, where you were. Your team against Team USA would be a pretty good game, wouldn't it?
It could be.
in the primes. The 5 and 6 guys that you'd put on the floor against the 5 that are down there practicing to go represent Team USA at the Olympics, that would be a game, wouldn't it?
And then if you can throw in some guys that I coached when I was at UNLV.
Yeah, you coached some.
John Marion.
Oh, my goodness, yeah. Did you coach Isaiah too? Ryder? No.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you coached Isaiah. Yeah, you coached some of the best players in the history of the game down there.
For sure.
Yeah.
It was a special time, and we're excited because I think Salt Lake Community, we're friends of yours, and we're fans of yours.
We're going to root for you, of course.
Salt Lake Community College, to get you, and they hit the lottery.
They had the jackpot.
Wow.
As soon as I heard that and I texted you, I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is the best thing that could ever happen.
We're having a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Well, we wish you the very, very, very best. So,
all right, let's do.
Okay, here's our 5 questions. Some of them are the same. We changed a couple. You heard Kelly's. So your favorite sports movie, and you'll come up with a better. Like Kelly could.
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams.
Oh, I love that one. If you build it, they will come.
Dreams. Okay.
People will come, Ray. I love that. Right. So, your favorite singer or band?
That's a really tough one, but I'd have to go with Elton John.
Oh man, this is old school. Did you ever see Elton John when he came to the Thomas and Mack?
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's some
And
unbelievable acts.
He had his red piano thing over at Caesars.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
He was big. He was a big name down there. Your favorite breakfast cereal?
Wheaties.
You know what? That's the first Wheaties in 2.5 years.
Breakfast of Champions.
They still make Wheaties? They still make Wheaties?
So now listen, I don't mind Wheaties, but I have to put like 6 tablespoons of sugar on it.
You're not supposed to do that?
Yes, that's of course. It's a breakfast of champions as long as you add a lot of sugar to it.
Frosted Wheaties. Okay. All right.
Your favorite sports moment of all time?
I've got 3 really quick ones.
Yeah, give us all 3.
Jack Nicklaus winning the 1986 Masters.
Loved it. Yeah. I was riveted to the television.
I'm not a Dodgers fan, but Kirk Gibson coming off the bench to hit the home run against the A's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a Dodger fan either, but yeah.
And then I've got to go with 1990 UNLV winning the national championship.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that championship game, you beat Duke by 30, which I still think is the largest one-sided game.
It's the biggest butt kicking in the history of the national championship game.
So, did you feel you won that game 2 minutes into the game, 5 minutes into the game? What? There wasn't this big shot, and hey, we're champions. It was this beat down from start to finish. When was it over?
Pretty quickly. And it was just one of those things. I mean, they
got it rolling.
They came back the next year and beat us in the Final Four. But Walter Payton actually came to our locker room before the game, and he gave an unbelievable pregame speech. Coach Tark was at the board giving the pregame talk, and there was a knock. And Coach Tark looked up, and who is that? And the door opened, and it was Walter Payton. And this is 1990 Walter Payton. So this is
this is sweetness.
This is real deal.
Yeah.
And he came in, and our guys,
Yeah.
They were ready to kill someone. I mean, he talked about watching Big Monday on his TV in Chicago and staying up late on Monday night and watching.
Because you played the late games.
Yeah, it was a big time deal.
And you guys would just kill people back in those days, just run them off the floor.
Hey, that gets me thinking, what are some of the other guests that popped into the Runnin' Rebel locker room from in Vegas where everyone comes?
I remember, my locker was right next to Stacey Augman's, and I remember we came in from a game one time, and in our lockers, waiting there to hear Coach Tark, was Evander Holyfield and MC Hammer.
Just sitting there.
And
they were just sitting in there with you guys?
And they both said, "Oh, these are your lockers," and I said, "I'm okay." True story. True story.
Yeah, Evander was a bad man.
But Sugar Ray Leonard was there a lot, and And
Boxing was still in its heyday back in those
Yes.
days.
Oh,
Big
yeah.
names in boxing.
those were-
That was a fun time. Wow.
Those were the- I had the good fortune of coming in with Rolly Massimino, so I missed the whole thing. But it has never. It's always been a thing in Las Vegas, and now there's the Raiders and there's the Knights and there's some other identifying things. But for the longest time, being number one was everything to Southern Nevada.
Absolutely. Yes, for sure.
That's
Fun
pretty
time.
cool. All right.
Okay, I'm giving you your last question. What's your favorite Jimmer moment? You mentioned one, but is there another one you could pick out, a Jimmer moment that you reflect back and go, wow, this was just something?
Yeah, he had 43 against San Diego State in the Marriott Center, and they said Jimmer's not beating us in San Diego, and he went down there and got 9 assists, and again he still got 25 points, but
25 and 9.
25 and 9.
Yeah.
And then the other one I think was one thing once Coach Rose started getting the team back to the NCAA tournament, all the questions were, when are you going to win the NCAA tournament game? And it had been since 1993.
Right.
And so I think the Jimmer moment getting 37 against Florida in 2010 was a huge moment, because that got that off of the. I mean, our players were 2 and 3 years old the last time, so I mean, I don't think they had a lot to do with not having won an NCAA tournament. But yet Michael Lloyd gets 26 points and Jimmer gets 37, and Jackson Emery makes a huge 3 late in that game.
Yeah.
Jonathan Tavernari. I mean, it was a collaborative team effort.
Hey, Michael Lloyd was a player.
So everybody always asks us this, so I want to ask you this, and this isn't part of the 5 questions, but Brandon doesn't get in a little bit of trouble and get suspended on that run. Is that a Final Four basketball team?
No doubt about it. Because you think about it, we lost to Florida in overtime without Brandon.
In the Sweet 16, right?
Yeah, in Sweet 16. And then we would have had Butler next. It's a Final Four team.
Yeah.
It's a Final Four
And
team.
didn't Florida advance to the Final Four that year?
They ended up, I think, losing to Butler.
Oh, okay.
But we would have.
You would have beaten Butler.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least we believe so.
Yeah. No, that hurt. It hurt because people always ask us, what's the best team? We always go back to Danny's team in '81, where they were crazy talented, a bunch of NBA guys.
It was a tough time, but I always think we have great respect for what BYU stood for. And I think Brandon would be the first one to say. Brandon had a great career and came back and did wonderful things, and yet I hope BYU never forgets that that's made us special. As tough as that was, as tough as that moment was, I think it sent a message to the world that this is what we are.
Yeah.
And Brandon lived to fight another day and had a wonderful career and continues to play.
Yeah, I ran into him the other day, getting ready to go back to Spain. Looks like $1 million.
Oh yeah, he can really play.
He is a specimen.
He can easily be in the NBA.
Yeah.
Dave Rice on the Wise
Dave,
Guys. Hey, give
great
our best
stuff.
to Mindy and your family, and we'll be cheering for the Bruins.
The Bruins.
And mostly we'll be pulling for you because we're excited to have you back in the state of Utah.
The 3 of us go back a lot of years. Like
Yes, we do.
Dave, you and I go back to Vegas days and playing.
Dave got me that gig doing the Vegas games with him, like back in the olden days.
This has been really fun.
Well, you've always been first class, and win or lose, and you learn a lot about someone who will do an interview after they lose. You've just been a rock throughout, and everyone who's hired you has been a benefactor of that. And again, we think Salt Lake Community College hit a home run here.
Yep.
And you're still undefeated. So right now you're the undefeated
Absolutely.
Bruins head coach.
These jobs are a lot of fun until you have to play a game.
Well, now that you guys are back, when everybody gets a minute, I say we'll go grab our wives and we'll go get something to eat and go catch up.
That'd
It'll be fun to get
wonderful.
back with Mindy.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for being here. All right, Dave
Thanks, Dave.
Rice.
Go Cougs.
On the Wise Guys, the Bruins and the Cougs. And again, we call him the co-architect of Jimmermania.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't that too much to say? The co-architect of Jimmermania?
He is.
Yeah.
Jimmer was pretty special.
Yeah.
Well said. The smartest guy to ever play at UNLV on the Wise Guys.
No question, the smartest guy ever to play at UNLV.
Dane Iorg is going to join us here in just a moment on the Wise Guys. Let's do our Cougarboard question of the week as Dave heads out. If you're not familiar with Cougarboard, it's the largest online community of BYU fans with thousands of posts daily. The question comes from Dilbert, one of their insider subscribers. Blaine, with the changes over the last year to the strength and conditioning staff, what do the current staff do differently than the previous staff? And we're assuming we're talking football, even though basketball in recent years also switched out their strength and conditioning coaching staff.
It's interesting because this staff is so connected to the coaching staff and the nutrition staff. So here's what I'm noticing. It's just so much more integrated than it has ever been. They've had the resources that they coordinate with the coaches. They even coordinate what the practice schedule should look like in season to let the players be playing at their peak on a Friday night game or a Saturday night game. They consult with one another. They talk about the science behind it. It's so science-based. Everything they eat, everything they put in their mouths, everything they do is thought out and discussed as a unit. So, and then they also integrate the whole sports science and the psychology guys that are involved with it. It's so much more integrated than I've ever seen it before. That every aspect of what they do every day, off season and in season, is coordinated with the strength staff, with the nutritional staff, with the mental sports science staff. What do we call that group? I'm trying to remember what we call it.
I know what you're talking about. Something squad.
Yeah, but the squad that helps them with the psychology of sport and all that. It's phenomenal with what they do and how integrated they are, and it's making a difference. It really is.
That's our Cougarboard question of the week. Before we bring Dane in, let's do our. You ready to model our defense drinks?
Yeah, and I don't know
what's going on with our helmet.
What happened to my helmet?
Steve, can you fix that?
It's stuck up.
Yeah, be careful. Yeah, I think we might need to get the magic wand again.
No,
just come on in here and do this.
It's stuck up there, Steve. So I don't know what to do.
Yeah, the last thing we want, ladies and gentlemen, this is a live. This is how this works. Steve's got the magic wand, and now, voila.
See, if I would have just pulled that thing off, it would have broke it. But it's
right.
got a special tool.
So the helmet's back spinning, and let's do our defense drinks promo. If you'll be our model,
I'm half done with my defense drink today.
Okay, so. DJ's going to put that thing up. Defense Drinks makes a pre-workout that's caffeine-free. Get the energy and performance boost without disturbing your sleep. There's Blaine modeling. Have caffeine jitters or caffeine crashes. No one likes those. Being caffeine-free and using clean ingredients means it can be safely used by you and NCAA athletes. Save 10% on your order at defensedrinks.com. Use the promo code WISEGUYS. And there it is right there. Wise Guys, it'll save you some money.
I'm drinking tonight the Tiger's Blood collagen and electrolyte formulation, which is good because I don't want to drink the pre because I'll be bouncing off the walls for when Dane comes on the show.
Yeah, well, he's coming on right now, so be careful. It's championship night on the Wise Guys. Earlier, BYU National Champion Kelly Smith was on the show. A moment ago, UNLV National Champion Dave Rice joined us, and now we're thrilled to welcome two-time World Series champion Dane Iorg to the Wise Guys as we say hello to Beaumont, Texas, and some of the other cities checking in on our global live stream. Jack is fixing the mic.
This is an exclamation point on the night to have Dane in with us because national championships are great. We have two national championships, but these are two world championships, really. When you win a World Series, that's a world championship because there's no better level of baseball anywhere in the world. No disrespect to Japan, but this is the highest level.
It's good to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Thanks for inviting me.
So we got two significant things that stand out from your baseball career we want to talk about. First, you win 2 World Series. One with St. Louis when the Cardinals then traded you to Kansas City, where then you beat St. Louis for your second World Series ring, which one is unusual. Second, you played against your brother Garth in the American League Championship Series in 1985 when he was on the Blue Jays and you were on the Royals. It's also unusual. And as a Cubs fan, I'm glad you beat the Cardinals when you were with Kansas City. But let's start there. Before we talk about playing your brother, you win one for one team, they trade you, and then you beat that team for 2 big rings. That doesn't happen very often in the history of a game that's been here forever.
No, that's very unusual. But it's interesting because we had a coach named Dave Ricketts, who was a great coach. I love Dave Ricketts. And even before the series started, I said, Dave, I really think I'm going to come up and beat you guys in the seventh game of the World Series. But it was actually the 6th game of the World Series. So what I told him, I was just joking with him, but it came true.
Was it weird? Was it weird to be in both dugouts so soon from each other?
Yeah, it was really strange because I came up with the Cardinals, and all the players on the Cardinals, they were my best friends. I came up through the organization with those people and played with them for a number of years. And so it was strange playing against my best friends in baseball.
Yeah.
But in the game, friendships
That's put on the back burner, right?
Oh, that's right.
And then you're going to go out and win that. You're going to go out and win that thing. Take us back to that Game 6, because you talk about you didn't win it in Game 7, you won it in Game 6. You're behind 1-0. The bases are loaded. It doesn't get any better than this. So the game's on the line. You come to the plate. You hit a 2-run RBI single. You win the game. You tie the series, and then you go on to win Game 7. You win the championship. Take us through that moment. What was that like? Your emotions, everything you thought about, and how was that?
Well, I'd had a lot of experiences in pitching in very, very important situations. I'd done that for a number of years, so I kind of knew what I wanted to do and how to approach the game. But I remember I was walking to the plate, playing for the Kansas City Royals, and I looked in the Cardinal dugout, and Hal Lanier, who was our third base coach, and I believe he started as a first base coach, then became the third base coach when I played for the Cardinals. He put up 2 fingers, bases loaded, and he's going, well, double play, try to get a double play. And so I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking, Dane, you cannot hit into a double play.
Right.
And then I'm talking to myself, and I said, don't think negatively. Get up there and,
You're having this conversation while you're getting into better spots.
Nobody likes a negative swing thought. I better not slice it right here. And you're thinking, whatever you do, don't hit into a double play.
Right. I was going, don't hit into a double play. And I was facing Todd Worrell. And Todd Worrell and I were good friends. I mean, I really liked Todd Worrell.
Yeah.
And so I came to the plate, and as a pinch hitter, as I watch the game now occasionally, I see pinch hitters taking, pitches right down the middle, first pitch. No, I was never going to do that.
Yeah.
It says pinch hitter, not a pinch walker. I go up there swinging the bat. I'm aggressive because I learned. One time I was playing for the St. Louis Cardinals in a real big game. I come up with 2 outs. In the 9th inning, we had a couple men on, might have had the bases loaded. And I worked the count to 3-2, and I'm thinking, man, I got to get a good pitch. I have to get a good pitch. And the pitcher threw it right down the middle, and I took it because I'm thinking that.
Yeah.
And I said, that's the last time that will ever happen to me. It'll never happen again. I will never take, I would never think like that and take a pitch. So I'm aggressive when I go up there. And Todd Worrell, he throws me the first pitch, and bases loaded, he throws me a slider down and in. And so I know a fastball's coming. He can't get behind me 2-0, and he throws me a fastball.
So before we get to that fastball, here comes the first pitch. How can you tell it's going to be a slider down and in? The ball comes out of his hands. What are you looking at before the ball gets to you?
I don't know, Dave. I just had done it. I really don't know what I was looking at, but I could tell.
You just could tell it wasn't going to be in the strike zone.
I can tell. I mean, you have to process that really rapidly.
Yeah.
And so I can process it rapidly because I've done it so many times. And I
so this
knew
is
it was a ball.
this is down and in, no matter what.
Down and in slider.
It's 1-0.
Yeah, 1-0. Now I know he's going to throw me a fastball.
Now you're in his head because he's going to throw you a fastball.
I know he has to throw me a fastball because he does not want to get behind 2-0.
Right. Okay, so the crowd's making noise. There's a lot of tension.
Yeah.
He winds up and...
Well, I see a fastball, and I'm focused. But I hadn't been to the plate for a week or so, so I kind of, shortened my swing and just trying to put the ball in play. Actually, he broke my bat. He threw me an inside fastball. I swung at it, broke my bat. I hit a little humpback liner into right field and knocked in 2 runs to win the ball game. And then the next day, my best buddy, one of them is Gerald Porter, the catcher. And he comes out to see me and the next day, because we're buddies. I could tell you a lot of the experiences I had with Gerald Porter. But anyway, he said, I thought you might want this. And he had the baseball for me.
Oh, wow.
He gave me the baseball that I'd hit. And so
that's pretty thoughtful.
That's pretty
and
interesting.
At that level of competition for him to think to do that.
But we were really close friends. We were buddies. And then Todd Worrell also said, Dane, I didn't want anybody to get that hit. But if anybody got that hit off me, I was glad it was you. Because we were buddies.
Describe, the mind is funny what it remembers, but do you remember the sound of that hit?
I don't remember the sound. No, I don't remember the sound.
Did it sting your hands because it was so far down the...
Yeah, I hit it kind of just above the label, snapped my bat, which is okay.
And you figured it was into right field, or did you broken
No,
bat?
I knew it was a base hit as soon as I hit it because I saw where the ball went.
Yeah.
And I saw it go over the second baseman's head. Tommy Herr, who's another close friend of mine, to Andy Van Slyke, who has a cannon. And I knew it was a base hit, but I was kind of going, now what do I do now? You know, I kind of what to do between first and second. And I kind of jump up. And we scored the run. Jim Sundberg was on second base, a great catcher, and he slid in. I could tell he was safe. We won the game.
So you're going to the dugout as the veteran, Mr. Non-Emotional veteran. You just won the game. So what was it like?
Chaos. Everybody was so happy, and they run out there. They're jumping all over me. And we had a big old left-handed relief pitcher. He started for us occasionally. His name was Mike Jones, and he swung at me and hit me right in the nose.
He threw a punch?
He didn't mean to, but and I have a bloody nose now.
You got a bloody nose?
Run in there, and Reggie Jackson's waiting for me, and my nose is just bleeding like crazy. I mean, blood's just pouring out of it.
It was friendly fire.
Yeah. And so I said, wait just a minute. I had to go down and get a towel, be able to wipe my nose before I could do the interview with Reggie Jackson. So.
And Mr. October is interviewing you after you were Mr. Game 6.
Yeah, right. Mr. October. Yeah.
That's good stuff.
That's awesome.
A World Series champ, Dane Iorg, on the Wise Guys with us tonight, presented by BradyPlus. We were also really interested in this ACLS or ALCS series with your brother Garth. Couple of things. Were you guys close growing up, first off? And then what's it like facing your brother in a series? Did you guys talk to each other? What was that like as you're playing each other in a series?
Yeah, we talked to each other, and it was really interesting to play against him. I was a free agent. I really wanted to sign with Toronto later on so that he and I could be on the same team.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because Toronto jumped off to a 3-win. They won 3 games. We'd won only 1. So we had to win 3 games to win the series. And so after they had led us by 3-1, all the wives went out and bought fur coats.
Oh, wow.
Because they're getting a World Series check.
That jinxed it.
And that's what I said. I said, Patty, Garth's wife, I said, don't get too confident. We have 3 great pitchers. We had a great starting staff.
Yeah.
I said, we're going to be tough to beat. And so we won it 4-3. We won 3 straight. And Patty didn't talk to me for about a year.
Oh, wow.
Every so often, there's games where there's family members. BYU had one last year. Kansas, Darius Lassiter,
Mom and
receiver,
Dad.
and his brother's a defensive back for the Jayhawks, and they didn't defend each other on a play, but they were back there. So in this series with Garth, when you see him, you're like, "Hey, Garth," or is until the game ends, it's just those guys are the enemy and.
Well, I played against him because I played for the Royals and we played the Blue Jays.
Right.
I always wanted to get base hits if there wasn't the game on the line or whatever. I wanted to do well, but I wanted to win the game. And so, but we don't bring it up. We really don't talk about it anymore. I never talk to him about it because, my 2 brothers, Lee and Garth, they're my best friends. I talk to my brother Garth in Florida all the time. And we generally talk about fishing and other things. We don't. And then baseball players we knew. What happened to these guys? What are they doing now?
So you don't do a, hey, remember that one time? You don't do too many of that?
No, I don't do any of that.
Are you much into baseball anymore? When's the last time you sat down and watched a 9-inning game? Watch the whole thing?
Never.
Since you played, you've never watched one?
Probably not the whole 9 innings. No, I've watched games. Sporadically I'll look at it. I might have it on, but I'm reading something or doing something. But I just watch the real interesting parts that are interesting to me. I don't think I've ever watched a complete 9-inning game.
Wow.
What did your parents think of the 2 boys in the series against each other?
Well, they wanted Garth to win.
Oh, they did?
Because I'd already won one.
Isn't that funny
Did
how
they make
parents
that known
are?
to you? They're like, hey,
Yeah.
we're sorry, we got to root for Garth.
Yeah, they said we're rooting for the Blue Jays. But I can understand that. I mean, if I'm a parent and I have 2 boys, one already has a World Series ring, the other's trying to win one. It's just, I didn't worry about it. I didn't care because I could understand it, but,
So the dynamic of, we've all played Little League and our dad's coaches coached us and stuff, but the dynamic of, in this series with the Blue Jays, the game ends, you Garth goes with the Blue Jays, you go with the Royals, but then your parents are at the games. Do you guys get together afterwards and have dinner, or was it I'll see you after the series, and mom and dad are the inner, they're the go-betweens, or is this just, hey, the family's having lunch, and then later that night you're going to go after each other?
Well, I can't even remember what happened, to be honest with you. But I always saw my brother when I go to Toronto, so he probably did something. He was probably feeling really badly because, they'd lost that game, and we're very competitive. I mean, you want to win those games. It's like Blaine said, I don't care when I step between those lines. They're my enemies.
Yeah.
And I'll do anything to beat them. So.
Did your sister-in-law return the fur coat, or did they all keep them?
Never asked, Dave. That might be a good question.
That's a good question. When Garth listens to this, when it's on our podcast, we may have to follow up on that.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen that fur coat.
When Danny Ainge was on with us, and he was talking about when he was playing World Championship Series in the NBA, like he and Michael Jordan on a day off would fly off together and play golf. Like they go play golf. They're playing against each other in this series, and they go play golf. Was it ever like that in baseball? That seems like pretty cordial to me.
No, it was never like that because I played for the best manager in the game. I played for Whitey Herzog.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, he was awesome.
Is he the greatest ever?
To me, he is. Yeah. But he didn't want players out there talking to the opposition. And we weren't allowed to do that when I played. He didn't want that camaraderie between teams. He didn't like that.
No visiting at first base, any of that stuff?
Well, you could talk to him at first base more about before the game started.
Okay.
He didn't want people out there talking to the opposition. And so, I respected that. And I never really wanted to know the pitchers on the opposing team. I never even got close to our pitchers because you never know when you have to face them.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, and I don't want to feel sorry for them.
Like Todd Worrell.
Yeah. Are pitchers like kickers in football, where it's just like nobody even talk to him? You don't want to knock him off his game. Just leave him alone. Is that how pitchers are?
Yeah, they're pretty intense on the day they pitch, and so you kind of stay away from them. Yeah.
Two-time World Series champion Dane Iorg on the Wise Guys. How different's the game today? Has power replaced discipline?
Yes, power is definitely the key now. When I played with St. Louis, our leading home run hitter was George Hendrick, and George Hendrick had power. But we play in the biggest field in the National League. Mm-hmm. That's a monster to hit him out. And so, they taught us line drives, hard ground balls. They didn't want the ball in the air. I remember Whitey Herzog with Ozzie Smith. He'd tell Ozzie, he says, you owe me $1 for every fly ball you hit. I think it was $1 for, and every ground ball or line drive you hit, I owe you 50 cents. He wants the ball, kept on the ground, line drives, because it's a big field, biggest one I've ever played.
Bigger than Candlestick?
Oh yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, bigger, a lot bigger than Candlestick. You couldn't have hit him out of there, especially when it was humid. I saw Mike Schmidt one time hit 2 in the same game. He went in the home run trot both times. Both of them were caught on the warning track in left center.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, he had a lot of home runs, so
yeah, he's a great player.
Hey, speaking of Mike Schmidt, in '85, he's the highest paid player in Major League Baseball, $2.1 million a year. And now you have Shohei Ohtani at $70 million a year. What happened?
I'm not sure, but but if you're going to give somebody $70 million, I'd give it to Ohtani.
Yeah.
The guy's unbelievable. And can you imagine the fans he brings in and all the jerseys sold in Japan?
How can he be that good pitching and also be that great a hitter? Like there's nobody like him.
No, nobody's. But you know what, Blaine? I played against some guys like Ellis Valentine. He's like 6'5", big right fielder for the Montreal Expos. You never ran on him. I mean, he had the best arm I'd ever seen. I wouldn't want him on the mound, but I'm sure he could have done it.
Yeah.
But Ohtani kind of, forced the issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised that the game has evolved to where $70 million is going to one guy from when you played when Schmidt was the money man at 2.1?
Yeah, nobody would have believed it.
Really?
Nobody would have believed it at that time.
Yeah.
But, I played in a great era. Everybody says, don't you wish you could have played now? I don't know. I see how big and strong and fast these guys are. Probably couldn't have made the team. But I had a great career. I loved what I did for those years, and I was just glad I made it.
Well, when you guys played, we never cheered for the Cardinals because we were Cubs fans.
Right, I understand that.
But it was the game of the week on Saturdays. It wasn't every single game. You don't have them all on your phone.
Yeah.
There's no way we got too much. And so I think that's what helped make it special, because in 85, we're just coming through high school. The big games were still the big games because you hadn't seen the Cardinals for 3 weeks.
Right.
But now it's just access to everything and all of it, and the common fan gets burned out.
Right. And you know what? The tickets are so expensive now. It's more of a corporate game. When I played, the kids would come. I remember we had a bunch of kids that would come, and they were from the kind of the ghetto part of the town, and all the players would leave tickets for them and different things like that. And, every game in St. Louis after school was out, we basically sold out. I mean, we had 50,000 a night. That place was packed.
Yeah, it was the only. You had to go to the game to see it, right?
Right.
Which just wasn't on TV all the time.
No, I think they showed them, but it was an event to go to a Cardinal game.
Well, and it was part of the fabric of the community. I mean,
Right.
it still is, but it was part of the common man community and not part of corporate America community. Like, it feels like the NBA is that as well, and even to the NFL to a certain extent. Although those stadiums are so much bigger, I feel like sometimes there are seats available for NFL games. You can get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too bad because I miss those days.
Yeah.
I miss those days.
So, Dane, you sent your son Seth to play at BYU, and then Seth sent his son to play for the Cougars. You went right in to the big leagues from high school, as I understand it. Is that right?
No, I played at BYU.
Did you play BYU? What year?
I played 3 years, 69, 70, 71 for Coach Glenn Tuckett.
I should have.
Like my second dad. Awesome.
Glenn
The
Tuckett.
best.
Glenn Tuckett's one of my favorite
How did
human
I not
beings
know that?
ever.
Me too.
So he was the AD
Playing.
when I was here playing, and he was. We would. And I'm interested to know how he was back with you as a coach, but when he was our athletic director, and Jeffrey Holland was the president of the university at the time, and we would go play in a bowl game. I'll never forget. We're playing Ohio State in 1982 in the Holiday Bowl, and we're at a big banquet. We're the president of both universities and the athletic directors of both universities were going to speak at this big, huge lunch in a giant ballroom, and their guys spoke first. Their athletic director, their president. Then Glenn Tuckett gets up and speaks. And right, Dane, how good he is. And then Jeffrey Holland gets up and speaks. And he sits down. And I lean over to my teammate and I go, I don't know if we're going to win this game, but our AD and our president just kicked their butts. They just made and he has to have been an unbelievable coach to play for Glenn Tuckett.
Oh, I loved it. He's competitive, he's tough, and there's no gray area. There's a right and wrong. There's nothing between it. And I loved it. And he was so competitive. Gosh.
Yeah, and you had a good run. You had a good run at that time when you guys were pretty good.
We were really good. We were really good, and it was so much fun. In reality, the time I spent at BYU playing those 3 years, that was the most fun I ever had playing baseball, even all through professional baseball. I loved every second of it.
We got to update your Wikipedia page. Who doesn't have your BYU years on it? But you have your son, your grandson here, and then you're here. As you look at the big leagues today, Daniel Schneemann, Cleveland, Justin Sterner for the Rays, Michael Rucker on the injured reserve with the Phillies. This is the most BYU's had in the show for a long, long time. As you look at the Cougars, why haven't there been more? What is the challenge of BYU baseball in putting guys like you in the big leagues?
It all boils down to recruiting.
Yeah.
I guess maybe they didn't want to come to BYU because of the weather, where they could go to Arizona, California, different places, and play all year round.
And that's clearly a thing.
That's important because I was actually going to go to UCLA.
Really?
Out of high school to play baseball. And then Coach Tuckett came to visit me. I had a history teacher named Vern Tenney. He wrote Coach a letter and said, we have a good Mormon baseball player here. And so he came out to visit me, and he met my parents, and my mom was just, overjoyed with the way that he spoke to her, the things that he said. And so she said to me, she says, Dane, I want you to go to BYU. And I said, okay, I'll go to BYU. And best decision I ever made. Loved it at BYU. Still love BYU.
It was a special time on campus at BYU for athletes, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. We had all that discrimination stuff.
Yeah.
And all kinds of. In fact, the University of Wyoming, we went there, and they had actually people in the stands. They had like military people.
Yeah.
And so,
And there's been a few runs. I remember that little period of time when you had Wally, and Wally's been on the show, Wally Joyner coming through, and Corey Snyder and Rick Aguilera and
Jack Morris was through there.
There was a bunch of players coming through in a short period of time, and I'm like, wow, they're getting him right now.
Yeah.
And what does BYU have to do you think to get back to that where they're producing Major League Baseball players on a regular basis? And does this Big 12 thing help that?
Oh, yeah, I think it really helps because you want to play against the best. I know you played football, Blaine, and everything, but I always wanted to play against the best teams. Even when in the big leagues, we'd go and play the last place teams. It was hard to get up for them sometimes, but not a good series that we had. And so I think that's definitely going to help. But I think they have to start winning. I mean, who wants to go to a program that's, finishing last or next in the Big 12 or whatever?
So you got to recruit to compete in the Big 12.
Right.
But while you're recruiting to the Big 12, you got to win in the Big 12. And that's it's tough to do at the same time. And that we saw in the first year, they were just overwhelmed, outmatched.
Right.
And now here comes the second year this next spring, and we'll see kind of what football's had to do. Is go out and get bigger, faster, and stronger really fast. And is 12 months enough, or is it going to take another year or another year? But they're in the big time now.
Yeah, it's big time. I don't have the answer. I mean, the coach has to recruit good players. You have to start with good talent like Coach Young's done with the basketball team.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you have to have the talented people.
And you got to have. You mentioned in the American League Championship Series, hey, you were down 3-0. It didn't matter because you knew you had depth in pitching, and you knew your dudes were coming up, right? And it's hard to recruit enough pitchers to be really good and be really competitive and that kind of depth. So they got to get better pitching.
Yeah, no question. You have to have pitching, and I don't know. In St. Louis we had Bruce Sutter, Hall of Fame relief pitcher. I mean, he was amazing. You couldn't hit him. I don't care. He could say, "Here comes my split finger." He had the biggest hands I'd ever seen in my life. He put that thing in there and it'd get up. I faced him. Get up there and it'd like fall off the table. I faced him in Chicago, and he threw 3 pitches to me. Every one of them hit in front of the plate, and I swung at every one of them.
We were probably cheering. Sorry, we were probably cheering.
That's crazy, right?
What was your greatest Wrigley Field moment?
Oh, gosh.
Besides that one, which would have been
I faced Ferguson Jenkins.
Really?
They're a Hall of Fame pitcher.
Yeah.
And, that's always, I love to face those guys. And I could face Nolan Ryan or Ferguson Jenkins, Tom Seaver, Roger Clemens, Vida Blue, Steve Carlton. And I got a base hit off Ferguson Jenkins.
Nice.
I hit one down the right. He threw me a slider. I hit it over the first baseman's head in the right field.
He should have never thrown that.
No.
Did you hit? So you hit Rod? Did you hit all those guys? You just talk about murderer's row of pitchers. You just named them.
I can hit him, Blaine.
You hit Roger. you hit all those guys.
I can hit him.
When Nolan Ryan, when he would get that fastball cranking, what would it do?
Well, I remember I was facing him in Houston. I can't.
In
Frank
the old
Poley.
Astrodome?
It was opening day, and I was playing left field, and he's throwing so hard. I know they got him at 103, and that's the old gun. They say with the way they measure now, that's 105 or 106. And he throws me a fastball low and outside, and Poley, the umpire, goes, "Strike one." I go, "Frank, where was that pitch?" He goes, "I'm not sure, but it sounded good." So how do you argue with that?
What do you say to that?
That's awesome.
Was Goose Gossage that time frame too? I'm trying to remember. But you faced Goose.
Oh, I faced Goose.
Yeah, he seems like to me, he was such a humongous dude that coming off the mound, I feel like he would be on top of you before he let the ball go.
He was, and then he pulled his cap over his eyes, and you're up there going, "Where is he looking? He can't see me in here." He was, he was intimidating. Plus, he threw so hard.
Yeah.
What ballpark did you revere? Did you feel you were stepping on unique, sacred baseball ground? Was there
Yankee
one?
Stadium.
Was it?
Yeah, when I went to the Yankee Stadium, I don't know if you've ever been there, but the pregame, they do a history of the New York Yankees. I mean, they show all the great teams, great players, and then you step out there on the field, And you played where Mickey Mantle played,
Yeah.
Joe DiMaggio played, all the great players, and it's hallowed ground, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep.
And then when you hit a home run at Yankee Stadium, it feels extra good.
Well, I never did, but I'd like that short right field fence. Gosh, and I knew Roger Maris.
Really?
Yeah, I'd talk to Roger Maris all the time because he and Whitey were good buddies. And he'd come to spring training, and he'd tell me, Orky, you got to pull the ball. You got to pull the ball. So that's what he did, just over that right field fence.
Popped it over there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I grew up a Yankees fan because I'm from New York, but I went and a buddy was the voice of the Red Sox, and he took me all around Fenway and told me all the little stories behind the scenes, and we went behind the scoreboard and did all that, and I was just like, oh gosh, now I have to be a Red Sox fan, which the Yankees fan's not allowed to do, right?
No, that's bitter rivalry.
My friends hate me now, but I kind of like them both. I can't not like the Red Sox now.
Yeah.
Let's hit you with one more question, then we got 5 quick ones, and we'll get you out. Visiting
Yeah.
with Dane Iorg, former Cougar, former big leaguer, 2-time World Series champion. How does the game of baseball work as a metaphor for life? How's it been a metaphor for you?
Well, it's hard work. I mean, it's very competitive. It's hard work. You have to continue to not give up. It gets hard. Everybody goes through slumps. I remember Jim Cott told me one time, he said, never measure a player until they've had a slump to see how they come back from that. And so you just have to stay at it and try to do the best you can and think about it and concentrate on it. I mean, it takes a lot of your mind working right, I think.
That sounds like life.
Yeah, teaches mental toughness for sure. So,
All right, I think he's ready.
yep. So here's your 5 questions. Some of them are the same. Your favorite sports movie?
I would say what Dave said.
Field of Dreams?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I need to go watch that again, just because James Earl Jones' voice in that I love. What about your favorite singer, band, entertainer?
I always I'm going back, Neil Diamond.
Oh yeah,
Neil Diamond was
they
my
they still
favorite.
play Neil Diamond at big games.
Yeah.
Baseball games,
he's
football
still in.
games. Like they still play.
He's still got it.
Sweet Carolina.
They
It's like
played that
bum
at-
bum bum.
They
Right?
played it at Stadium of Fire the other night.
Yeah.
No
Good.
crowd
Yeah, I
sang.
was there.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
You can put that song on in any stadium in America, and people are going to sing along.
Right.
So yeah, Neil Diamond's special talent. How about your favorite breakfast cereal?
Corn Pops.
Do you know what? I haven't had corn pops in forever.
I haven't either, but I loved them.
They're
as a kid.
fantastic. I've had them recently.
kid too. They're so good.
Remember when we were younger, they were called sugar corn pops.
Yeah, they had to take the sugar off.
And all of a sudden, sugar became a non-cool thing to have on a box. So they took that off, and it
Right.
just became corn pops.
I ate sugar corn pops and sugar smacks.
Corn pops
You had
are
to take the
awesome.
sugar off.
They're a little smaller now than they used to be, but so is everything.
I had to get me a box of corn pops. So your favorite baseball moment?
My favorite moment was when it was the 7th game of the World Series. Gorman Thomas was facing Bruce Sutter, and it was like, I can't remember the count on him, but Bruce Sutter threw a fastball. I'll never forget it. I can see it in my mind right now. Threw a high fastball at him, struck him out for the 3rd out, and we won the World Series. So that was an awesome experience.
And so, how did you react as soon as that play?
Well, I ran out there and we all jumped around. We had a good time, but I'm thinking, gosh, I come from Blue Lake, California, 1,000 people, all the things that my parents did for me, all the sacrifices and all the things. And I play on the best baseball team in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, Blaine's right. The Japanese teams, they can't play with us. There's no way. And, to play on the best team in the world, it
Twice.
was awesome.
Twice.
Yeah, twice.
So you were hit with the euphoria at first, and then you just had gratitude.
Yeah.
Sounds like so you were just hit with gratitude while you ran out on that field.
Right. I'm just going, this is unbelievable.
That's a cool reaction.
That is.
A really cool reaction. What's your favorite lesson you were taught by baseball all these years?
Oh, gosh, favorite lesson. I guess just, stay competitive. I mean, and that's why I retired, because I kind of lost that, where you needed to be mentally and physically. I couldn't get there anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't, because I always wanted to be a first string player, and I was like the 6th man.
Yeah.
I played first base, outfield, left, right, pinch hit. I mean, I was important to the team.
Sure.
but I always wanted to see, what if I got 500 at bats?
Yeah.
What could I
What if you're
do?
Aaron Judge?
No, I'm not Aaron Judge. But,
But what if?
but yeah, no kidding. But, you know, you have to stay competitive. I
Yeah.
think that's...
Well, there's a lot of guys.
Keep your edge.
There's more guys who have put on a Major League Baseball uniform who don't have 2 World Series rings than there are who did.
Right. Yeah.
So you got that going for you, which
Yeah.
is nice.
Oh, I'm so, you know, I played for good teams.
Yeah.
Then I played my last year in San Diego. We're like 20 games out in August. No fun. I mean, it was just really hard to go to the ballpark, and because I've been
Yeah.
accustomed. We were always good in St. Louis and Kansas City, always fighting for championships.
Was Ewing Kaufman involved in Kansas City when you were there?
Yes, he was the owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our best player was George Brett, of course.
Yeah, I remember George
The
being
best
there.
ever.
Yeah. I knew Ewing really well.
Hey,
Did you?
when
Yeah, he owned the company that I worked for back in
Okay,
those
that
days, Marion
pharmaceutical?
Laboratories.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been out to Ewing's house out there. He owned the Royals, and he basically built that whole sports complex. And he still used to just take his car and get his hair cut at the same place downtown that he always used to at a barber.
I never knew him.
He was the nicest guy ever, and used to get his seats on third base line and watch him play.
Oh, awesome.
Hey, when the Pine Tar incident happened with George Brett, were you there?
No, but I was on the plane with him, flying back to New York, and he sat by me, and he has his briefcase. And he said, "Dane, what do you think's in here?" And I go, "George, I have no idea. What's in that briefcase?" He goes, 10,000 cash. I go, 10,000 cash? What are you doing with that? He said, "Well, the Royals are opening up a Hall of Fame, Kansas City Royals Hall of Fame, and I got to go buy that bat from the guy that I sold it to." For
No
10
kidding.
grand.
Oh, wow.
He's going to buy the
He's going to get
tar
it back to put it in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
and he's got a briefcase of $10,000.
he's got 10 cash with him.
I thought that only happened in the movies.
No, he had it. I saw the briefcase.
That's awesome.
So great to have Dane Iorg. You're welcome on this show anytime,
Yes.
by
Oh,
the way.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Dave.
And
Thank
maybe
you,
we
Brian.
get that into the World Series, get you back on.
Yeah,
and
we'll have come
some of
commentate
that.
for us on the World Series
Anytime.
this year.
Yeah,
that would
thank
be
you.
awesome.
So
Thank
The
you.
great Dane Iorg,
thanks so
two-time
much, Dane.
Thank you.
World Series champion and proud BYU Cougar. And did you, by the way, when the Cubs won it in 2016, were you okay with that?
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, good.
I wanted the Cubs to win. How long had they?
Like 100
around.
years
Yeah,
or
was
something
that a
crazy.
100-year
It was
anniversary?
1908. It was actually longer than that, I think.
Yeah, and I love going to Wrigley Field. That was an experience.
Yeah, that's
right.
a good
Well, the
place.
McCanns appreciate you.
Dave's
Appreciate
gotten me.
that.
He actually had a contact back there and got me great seats at Wrigley a couple of times, and I appreciate that ballpark.
It's a
too.
special place.
It is.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's
awesome.
So,
Thank you for being
thanks
here.
again.
Thank you.
The great Dane Iorg. Wise Guys, presented by BradyPlus, formerly Brady Industries. BradyPlus serves companies and institutions nationwide, including resorts, restaurants, schools, universities, manufacturing and food processors, supermarkets, government and public buildings, and healthcare facilities. Over 110,000 current customers, including the likes of Nike, Walmart, FedEx, Disney, Whole Foods, Amazon, the Pentagon, and Wise Guys.
Did you just say the Pentagon?
The Pentagon. BradyPlus.
That's
we
our
appreciate
sponsor
their
right
support.
there, the Pentagon.
He'll be with us, Travis Brady, on our show next week.
I'm sad. I'm gonna out next week, and I'm not gonna get to be
Brian
here with
Logan's
Travis.
going to be here.
Yeah, Belo's filling in for me next week.
What a awesome. Let's roll out here with a couple of campus updates, and then we'll call it good for the week. It's been an awesome Champions Night show.
And you know what? What an amazing June and July we've had on the Wise Guys. The lineup of guests has been just phenomenal. We're so grateful to folks that will come and join us and let the fans around the world get to know them a little bit better. How fun was it to have Dane Iorg on here and talk about, what it was like in the day to be a
some of those
two-time World
stories.
Series champion. So fun.
Some of those stories are awesome. Awesome. Okay, let's the Olympics. Speaking of awesome, Whitney Morgan, 7th former Cougar or current Cougar to make the U.S. track and field national team. She was named to the squad over the weekend in the 5,000 meters, so she's going to Paris.
Yeah, so 7 Cougars qualified now. We got 2 from the women's team, Morgan and Courtney Wayman. And then they're just the 4th and 5th female athletes in BYU history to make the U.S. national team.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
That is.
Opening ceremonies in Paris, July 26th. I'm so excited for all 7 of them to to be able to walk in that opening ceremony. It has to be an amazing thing.
Those are the track and
It's
fielders.
got to be cooler than running out of the tunnel for a football
It has
game.
to be. It has to be.
Yeah.
Jimmer will be there with 3x3
Yeah.
as well. Women's volleyball season tickets go on sale this Thursday, July 11th, 10 a.m., BYUtickets.com. The season opener is coming up August 30th against Southeastern Louisiana. And before we do on this day, let's do our golf tournament.
Oh, yeah.
DJ, will you put that up? Wise Guys, the title sponsor of the Ephraim Hope Charity Golf Tournament this year. And we had the good folks on the show last week. This is Ephraim Hope raises funds for education of underprivileged kids in Uganda, giving them access to resource and opportunities to succeed. All the money raised in this golf tournament goes to tuition, books, and uniforms for the kids. No administrative fees or overhead fees taken from the funds.
Right. And you and I are going to be out there. We're the sponsor. We're not going to play because we want to get around and see everybody while we're out there. So
Plus, we're taping AFR
right,
later that
we have
morning.
after further review. So we're going to come out and get to know everybody and support this great cause. And
So sign up and book a foursome for your group.
Yeah.
Have fun playing at Cedar Hills Golf Club and raising money for this cause, of which the Wise Guys are very proud to be a part of.
Yep. And we'll see you out there. We'll absolutely see you
We
out
have
there.
live streamers all over the world, and we're going to help with the global reach of helping kids.
Yep. Absolutely. So you want to do some on this day?
On this day, on July 8th.
Let's start with 1776. I think that's appropriate.
Seems
right?
like it, yeah.
So on July 8th, Colonel John Nixon gives the first public reading of the Declaration of Independence to citizens in Philadelphia.
So they signed it on the 4th, and then they heard about it on the 8th. 1796, the U.S. State Department issues the first U.S. passport.
And did you hear we're going to get a passport agency right here in Salt Lake City?
It's about time.
Well, with all the missionaries and everybody going out, I think they decided, you know what? There needs to be a full-time office here. So
Absolutely.
that'll make getting a passport a lot easier. 1835, the Liberty Bell cracked again.
Come on.
Again.
Take care of the bell.
Yeah.
Take care of the bell.
For the second time.
1870, on this day, U.S. Congress authorizes the registration of trademarks. And by the way, Wise Guys is a registered
Yes,
trademark.
it is. In 1995, the first Canadian football game played between...
Oh, go to 46.
Oh,
1946.
I forgot 46.
Since we've been talking about baseball.
That's right. Baseball increased the minimum salary to $5,000.
5,000.
Come on. Today, the minimum salary is $570,500.
Yeah. A little cost of living boost.
Yeah. And by the way, the minimum salary in basketball is higher than that.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
1995, the first Canadian football game played between two U.S. teams, Las Vegas and Sacramento. I'm pretty sure I was at that game as a sportscaster in Vegas. I'm pretty sure it was 118 degrees.
And they're not in the Canadian League anymore.
No, that didn't.
That was a short-lived.
That wilted and faded.
Yeah, that's a short-lived thing. 2011, Space Shuttle Atlantis is launched in the final mission of the U.S. shuttle program.
Oh, how about that? Seemed like they were launching them every 6 months.
Yeah.
2015, the Washington Redskins have its trademark vacated on grounds that it may cause offense to Native Americans. In 2020, the Redskins were changed to the Washington Football Team. Now they're the Commanders, and now there is legal movement underway to restore the Redskins.
Yeah.
So that's Washington football in a nutshell.
Yeah, but you just gave the whole history right there. Yeah. And I still don't. When somebody says, "Did you see the Commanders play?" I'm thinking, what sport are we talking about?
Right. It doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right.
On Thanksgiving Day was the Redskins and the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And that's how we grew up. And that felt right. But the world's changed.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
We'll see what happens with that.
Let's do some July 8th birthdays and start in 1931. We're talking about the NFL. Roone Arledge, the executive producer of Monday Night Football, the creator of that, 1931.
Let's be honest, Monday Night Football was in all of our homes right after the family home evening.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes in place of it.
It was family home evening at my house.
Yeah. 1949, Wolfgang Puck was born on this day.
Yep, the great chef.
You know, his food's always good.
Yeah, you and I, was it Wolfgang Puck's? No. We went to Emeril Lagasse's place when we were down at the LSU game.
In Louisiana.
And
New Orleans.
in New Orleans. Okay, 1958. Kevin Bacon of Footloose fame. Footloose was part of the Stadium of Fire the other night.
Yeah, 40th anniversary of that movie.
1958, Kevin Bacon's birthday, July 8th.
Toby Keith, born in 1961.
Great country artist.
July 8th, deaths.
Yeah, 2011, Betty Ford, the former First Lady and the founder of the Betty Ford Clinic.
2012, Ernest Borgnine passed away on this day. The Wise Guy's inspirational quote of the week is from Wolfgang Puck.
And you found, I don't know how you find an inspirational quote from Wolfgang
I
Puck.
Google, but they're there.
You did it. He said, cooking is like painting or writing a song. Just as there are only so many notes or colors, there are only so many flavors. It's how you combine them that sets you apart.
That's Wolfgang Puck. One of these days, when we don't have so much going on, I'll tell you about the limo I shared with Wolfgang Puck.
You went in a limo
through
with
Central
Wolfgang Puck.
Park when we were both on Good Morning America. Yeah.
Wait, did you hang out with the Jonas Brothers the other night?
No.
We didn't hang with them?
No, I was going one way, they were going the other.
That's too bad.
It was kind of busy back there.
Because I did not really know the Jonas Brothers that well. They were phenomenal.
Yeah. I didn't recognize many of their songs, but everyone else did.
They were great. And I didn't realize that they were like Disney stars growing up, and that's why all those kids that grew up with them, they follow.
They were out in force, and
They
they
have a
were
huge
great.
following.
They played 16 songs.
They were amazing. I was
And the
impressed.
fireworks were amazing. It was a magical night over there, as it always is. Special thanks to Kelly Smith, Dave Rice, and Dane Iorg, our champions on Champions Night.
Yeah, and it was a phenomenal night. And then next week, another great lineup. Travis Brady's going to be on from BradyPlus. I'm sad I'm not going to be here. Trevor Maddich, my old teammate, and our center on the national championship team. And then Cameron Martin. Brian Logan's going to sub in for me next week.
Yeah, and Cameron Martin's the president of Rocky Mountain University, BYU alum. Worked for my dad in the Cougar Club years ago, big-time BYU fan, and president of the Rocky Mountain. I said, if you're president of a university, you know what you're going to do?
You come on the show.
Come on Wise Guys.
Yeah. And then later in August, we're going to have the president of the University of Utah and the president of BYU.
Both sitting right there.
Here. And you and I'll be right over there.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
Got to figure out some kind of game
and
to play.
B-Lo is like, I took him out to dinner with his girlfriend.
Oh, good.
And to get him all ready to go. He's ready to go. He's going to be ready to go next week.
Podcast will be up tomorrow. Share it with your friends. We're getting about 10,000 views on our YouTube every week to our show, which is awesome.
Yeah, that's fun.
And we're just going to keep growing.
And we don't know how many. The podcasts are harder to keep track of, but just keep downloading
they're available
that.
Everywhere.
Keep downloading that from every forum that you can think of or every platform, and then keep watching the thing on YouTube. And you know what? Tell your friends to come join us for the live stream. It's more fun live.
It is more fun live, and we love finding out where everyone is around the world. Wise Guys is presented by BradyPlus. We'll see you next week. We'll be that much closer to football season, which is really what we love.
It's countdown to football.
All right.
We'll
Thanks,
see
guys.
ya.